Welcome to Celmates.
Welcome to Celmates.
I'm Kate Phillips.
I'm Dick Ward.
And together, we are Celmates Podcast.
You've been saying that, and I feel like you need to pause so that we can say it at the same time.
Well, we're together. We don't have to say it together to act as a united front.
It's just a confusing new thing.
We're a podcast where we look at usually 2 animated movies at a time. We compare, contrast, place a Venn diagram over these 2 movies. Often they are Disney.
But not always.
Often they are musicals.
But not always.
Often they are good.
But not always. And today they are not good.
Today, I feel like is the reason we came up with that 3-part tag in general.
Okay.
Not for these movies, but it's like, well, these are the movies we like to see.
I don't think so at all. I think these movies fit into that category.
Well, okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about that, because to me, these are the antitheses of animated movie dumb.
What?
So, like, I think of an animated movie. If you say animated movie, I'm probably thinking of a Disney musical that is good. Like free association.
And these movies are the antithesis of that?
Did I say antithesis?
You did.
Okay. They are the epitome.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
These movies are the epitome.
That is why I laughed so hard. I was unclear on where you were going.
My mouth was moving faster than my brain.
That's right.
Dick.
Yo, what's up?
Are you having a drink?
I am not.
That's false.
That's false. I am having a drink. I am having, what is this? It's there's some like whiskey and an orange peel and like some simple sugar and club soda for some reason.
Would you say, like on your list of drink preference on the spectrum, where would you say it ranks?
I would say if I was going to put this drink in a bracket with a bunch of other drinks, it would probably come out as number 1.
Yeah.
Like depending on how I feel at the day and depending what other drinks were included. Like if like Pixar drinks were, if like beer was included, then, it might be different. But generally, this is a drink. Is called what? The Old Fashioned?
The Old Fashioned.
An Old Fashioned. This would normally come up towards the top of my drinks list.
Yeah, it's kind of been our drink together.
Aww.
As a unit, not just in a podcast.
Aww.
So it's like, it's our favorite.
Yeah.
And it's old fashioned. It's not new. It's not newfangled. It's classic. And pretty well respected in the drinks community.
All right. You're stretching a little bit. The movies we're talking about today are classics in the I am 30 years old or I am 37 years old, and this was released when I was a kid sense. But in the Disney sense, I would argue that these are
I don't know.
Part of a newer wave still.
I teach 3 to 11-year-olds. These movies are old-fashioned
ancient for
to
them, yeah.
They've not seen them.
I work at a 160-year-old company, so these are newfangled to us.
Whatever the lens is. Dick, what does your drink glass look like?
Well, it's not a glass.
Oh.
It's a cup.
Excuse me.
It is specifically a plastic cup from Burger King.
Ore hamburguesa.
E Coca-Cola.
Oh.
And
they
it
work
says,
with McDonald's now, don't they?
Oh, wow. This is a whole thing.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
There's actually a summary on the back of this cup.
Of the movie.
So I will be using that for my 2-minute plot.
It is from... What, 1991 is that cup?
It is a commemorative, it just says copyright Disney.
Oh.
But it is a commemorative Beauty and the Beast Burger King cup.
It sure is.
Because one of the movies that we are talking about today is Cup.
Burger King.
No, is Beauty and the Beast. Kate, I noticed that you're drinking out of a plastic commemorative cup.
That's false. Oh. But speaking of kings,
yes,
I am drinking out of a glass, and etched on it is a rough sketch that you could make like with your thumb. If you like dipped your thumb in like say a melon that somehow has dry
Okay, this movie is better
meat
animated
in it.
than that.
So you stick your thumb in like dry melon dust,
Yeah.
and you put it on a tree. And what you do is you make like a circle thing, and you put your thumb in the nose and make some ears. And then when you discover that he's not dead when he's older, you add a red melon thing as a mane around his head.
They use like pencils and pens, and well, probably just pencils, and they draw it on cells, and then they paint them in. That's
My
how
glass
animation
has a lovely Rafiki sketch
Ooh.
image of Simba,
Ooh.
like in the movie The Lion King.
Well, okay, but
Thank you, Andy, for this glass.
thank you, Andy, for this cup.
He was probably just born.
Yeah, so there's that. Yeah. What are you wearing shirt-wise?
Well, I'm wearing a shirt that has, one might say, a sunrise kind of color scheme.
You're wearing a
on
Lion
it.
King shirt.
I'm wearing a Lion King
All right,
shirt.
what are you wearing sock-wise?
My socks are Simba socks.
And what do you got next to you?
I got a baby Simba. I also have a Belle plastic figure that has wiring in it so that you can like bend her arms and
to
things.
the Lion King. Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
The elephant behind me.
Yeah.
It's not bowing to a king, but we did do some redecorating in our apartment, so that's all.
Where's that elephant from?
That elephant is from South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah.
Where's the Lion King at?
Well, that's a great question.
Ooh.
But I will say that there is South Africa in the Lion King.
So it makes
more
sense
so than
that I
the
brought
Lion
up the
King
elephant.
is in South Africa.
Boom.
One way or another. We're talking about
The Lion King.
And Beauty and the Beast. These are our, one and the other, our personal favorites of the Disney oeuvre.
I would not say that. I would say they're our favorites of Disney. I would not say that last word.
Oeuvre.
Ugh.
Well,
I would not say that. Lumiere might say that.
yeah, I was going to say, if you're in
Cogsworth
France.
would definitely say that.
Yeah, but he'd say it funnier.
He would say it hilarious.
So, congratulations, listener. You have joined us on roughly the anniversary of this podcast's birth.
And we just figured out how to say podcast.
We're still working on it.
Yeah, this is what, the 26th episode, right?
Yeah, it's basically the end, quote unquote, of
End of an
season
era.
1. We started the first week of October.
Yes.
It is currently
So
the last week of September when you're listening to this.
The way we've sort of imagined this is we know there's only so many animated movies, and there's some that we need to talk about more than once. Mm-hmm. So every season, which is about a year, every 26 episodes or so, we start a new season, and any movie that we've already done can be paired up again.
It's back on the table, yeah.
Yeah, it's back on the table, because we don't want to do The Lion King. Well, we choose not to do The Lion King every single episode.
No.
But if we can do it like once a year, that makes a
month,
happy Kate.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we're going to still do a lot of new titles and new
absolutely.
ideas. But yeah, there are some movies that when we look at them, we're like, oh, this would be good with this. This would be good with also this.
Yeah, or we thought it was a great match for this, but then we were watching it and like, oh, no, this would be really good with this other thing.
Or we've recorded an episode and then we see a new movie. We're like, oh, that would be so good with this movie we already talked about. So anyway, we're not superhuman. We're going to reuse movies, and the year mark seems like the appropriate delineation.
Yeah, and we're pretty excited to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll also say that our next episode, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break from the usual format. Because we have a lot to talk about with these movies, we are not going to be talking about any of the spin-offs.
Any kind of our conversation
sequels.
Is squarely on the roughly 90 minutes of animated magic that each of these movies offers.
Right.
We are going to...
So no rides, no park stuff, no sequels, no
Broadway,
stage,
anything.
no books.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, that's going to be in our next episode, as well as some fun, like tying up year-end stuff and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, because honestly, so we're doing these favorites. This was a pairing from the beginning that we're like, well, we have to pair these two movies together.
Have compared these movies on our own
Yeah.
for hours.
And there's kind of been this sense of like nothing else is good enough to pair with the other on this first go around.
Okay.
Certainly. Like, right? Like you could do like Brother Bear and Lion King, but like that's doing a disservice to the Lion King. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I don't know. For the first go around.
I don't think that's how this podcast works.
Well, anyway, this was one of the original ideas that we came up with.
Yeah,
I'd say we've recorded probably 8 to 10 of the original ideas we came up with, like when we first started this podcast. Sure. And this was one of them, and we decided to save it for our year mark as a celebration, but also it's the beginning of a school year. I'm a teacher, and these movies make me smile, so that's nice.
And you don't have time to like learn a whole bunch of new stuff.
No.
Or it goes for some movies that you might know the history of a little bit.
This episode is going to be like the time that I went into Full House trivia at a bar with no prior, like no specific research. Mm-hmm. I had just been researching my whole life for it. I did quite well with my small team. I think I pulled more weight than the people who had been studying in my team.
That's right.
Anyway, that's how prepared I feel for this podcast.
As the Kimmy Gibbler of this podcast, I have to say I did not study recently or at all. And my feet stink a little bit. So, ready to go.
Full House? Oh, as Kimmy. I see.
Yeah, I don't know. My feet smell.
I see what you're doing there.
Thanks.
All right. So, Dick, should we have some kind of like indication that one of us has gone off track of the original movies?
Kate, when you start talking about spin-offs, you will know it because I will do a thing. You'll figure it out.
All right.
Kate, let's talk about your... Oh, boy. I'm going to go out of the room and take a nap, make myself a sandwich, and come back. Talk about your history with The Lion King, because you're about to sum it up.
Oh, we're starting with... okay. All right. We'll start with the later chronological movie. That's no problem.
Yeah, we will.
All right. I had a bell line already queued up, and then you went the other direction.
Boom. That's the way I roll.
Well, The Lion King. What can't I say about it? 1994 release, which puts me at age 7, my brother at age 3. This is the first movie that it might not be the first movie that we see together in a theater, but it's the first movie we both like understand together in a theater. Mm-hmm. And it just took over our lives. I think we saw it at least 3 times in the theater. We saw it with multiple sets of relatives. Disney did a thing where it came out in the summer, and then they like re-released it in theaters in March because they're just like, well, we can get a couple more tens of millions of dollars off of this. Why not? We saw it again in March. I've seen it an additional time in theaters. Like, it just came up in my Facebook memories. It was like 8 years ago they re-released, and I went by myself to a theater in the Bronx and had a great time. Yeah, this movie was like a giant in our childhood. Everything we owned for like several years was Lion King theme. There was a short Pocahontas break, but then it basically went back to Lion King. Sure. Yeah, I mean, fun fact, we got the soundtrack before seeing the movie. I was convinced that Zazu and Scar were the same character. And so it seemed weird to me that the villain had such a fun song back and forth with the baby lion.
They both had like English
accents. The British accents, I think.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so I feel like things became much clearer once I saw the movie of like, these are separate
that happens.
characters.
Oh.
I adore this movie. We're not talking about it today, but I've done it with my kids at school as a musical. I clearly own a lot of adult-sized clothing. I mean, I'm barely adult-sized, but I own clothing that I have purchased or has been purchased for me as an adult, right, with Lion King stuff on it. I just love it so much. Yeah. It's my favorite movie of all time.
Well, you know what they say, Kate? Hakuna more vodka.
They don't say that.
They do say that. Well, lots of people say that.
Talk about Swahili grammar language later.
Yeah.
You would say Hakuna. You wouldn't say Hakuna because Hakuna is like there is no, or like we have no. So like Hakuna Mavadka means we have no Mavadka. Like the ma is pluralizing worry.
Well, it wouldn't be ma, it'd be more. Hakuna more vodka.
Yeah, but they like apostrophize it. I don't know what the mo would be then at that point, but
more.
And if you really want to be technical about it, it would be Hamna Shida. Hakuna Matata is kind of the bastardized version that Kenyans say to tourists. And if you go to Tanzania, they're like, no. The Kenyans don't know what they're talking about. The correct way to say this is Hamna Shida. So if someone shouts Hakuna Matata at you because you're a white tourist, just say back Hamna Shida. And it worked quite well. They just were like, oh, you're on to us.
I just want to take a moment to apologize to all of our Kenyan listeners.
I will say it's the Tanzanians who don't like the way the Kenyans use that Swahili, and I'm staying out of it.
To all our Tanzanian listeners for that broad generalization. Cool, Kate. Why don't you get a cookie timer going?
Well, I will, but I'd like you to talk a little bit about your experience with Lion King.
Yeah, so Lion King came out when I was 12-ish. This was like summer release?
Yeah, June 94.
So I was 11. I think I was just getting towards the point of like, I don't know if I need to see any more Disney movies, but I saw Lion King. Mm-hmm. Really liked it. It's a very good movie. Know like all of the songs by heart, or as much as a 11-year-old white kid from the suburbs knows Swahili, or whatever various languages are in
Zulu.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. But
I know way too much. I understand.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's my history with The Lion King. I've seen it more since I met you than I have in my entire life.
Wow.
Up till then.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not really a wow. We've watched it a couple of times.
Yeah. That's not those times aren't scratching the surface for me.
I do think it's a really good movie. I think it's some of Disney's best animation. I mean, we'll talk about this. There are points where it lacks in story and magic for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's one of those, here's how I would describe it. It's one of those movies where like, I never really want to watch it. I'm never like, oh man, I need to see The Lion King. But every time I do watch it, I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm watching The Lion King. This is so good. It like, I'm not left wanting, like I just like never have that craving to watch it, but it's never bad. It's never an experience that I don't enjoy. It's actively good. Like most Indian food, where like I'm never like, oh, let's get Indian food. But aside from like the one place that I had that had just like really weird meat, most Indian food I've had has been really, really good.
I will add one more thing that we do use the Circle of Life scene to test all of our new audiovisual equipment for sound and color.
That is true.
Purposes.
Yeah,
that has happened multiple times.
We have a fancy new TV and a semi-fancy sound bar. And we tested Circle of Life on it, mainly to make Kate appreciate the TV and the sound bar.
It worked.
Because you were not on board at first.
Well, it's just I have my computer. Why do I need what do I need a TV for?
Why would I want to listen to good sound?
I already have a screen.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. I've got 2 minutes on the clock.
All right.
I'm gonna go. I'm either gonna like go way under because I can just like, or we're still gonna be here 3 hours from now. Well, we'll find out.
You're gonna be done in 2 minutes either way.
We'll find out.
Let's go.
All right. Nyan singonya mabagiti baba. A new Prince Lion is born, and the kingdom acknowledges him. But the king, Mufasa's brother, Scar, not a big fan because he was next in line. So Simba is learning about being a lion and being a leader from his father Mufasa. They go on fun adventures, and he learns that the circle of life keeps everything in check, and it needs to be in this balanced order, and the kings of the past are above him and watching him. Meanwhile, Scar, still not happy about the situation, plots to kill both Simba and Mufasa so he can claim his rightful place as king. Well, he tries with his hyenas to capture Simba on a romp with his friend Nala, but Mufasa comes and saves him. Doesn't work. Well, then he gets a wildebeest stampede to go, and Simba doesn't die, but Mufasa almost does, and then he goes up on the cliff, and then Scar goes, "Long live the king," and then he throws him into the wildebeest. Mufasa dies. Oh no, Dad, we gotta wake up. And Simba has to run away. That's what Scar tells him to do. Well, Simba does that because he's scared and he's sad. He's a little lion. He finds Timon and Pumbaa, or rather, they find him. And they live by the motto, Hakuna Matata. What's the motto with you? Which means no worries. It does mean that, even if it's a different kind of Swahili. So Simba grows up into a big lion and has totally shunned out his past until his friend Nala comes back, stumbles upon him because she's hunting for food. There's no food left in the pride because Scar has been a terrible ruler. So she tries to get him to come back. "You're the rightful king." He says no, but then his dad talks to him from the clouds and says, "Remember who you are." And Simba goes, "Fine." And he goes back to the Pride Lands. He fights his uncle Scar. He takes his rightful place as on the throne because Scar gets eaten by the hyenas because he's betrayed them. And he and Nala have a baby lion. They anoint to the crowd. Circle of life continues.
Keep talking. You got time.
No. Oh, no, the alarm didn't ring.
Oh, the alarm didn't ring.
What is happening?
Did you give yourself extra time?
No.
Oh, that's sneaky.
It ran up.
Kate.
That's
sneaky. So the time...
You can go back and time it. I don't know why that didn't
won't.
work. I'm going to play with my phone now.
Cool. It doesn't super matter. So Lion King, that's what it's about.
What do you mean?
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
The thing you said.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Did I miss anything large?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't mean anything by it.
All right.
I was just trying to transition.
Great. That's what The Lion King is about.
That's true.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Well, circling back to France, I guess.
Circle of Life and back to France.
Circle of Life and back to France. Dick, tell us about your experience with Beauty and the Beast.
I'm like 90% sure I saw this in theaters. Really liked it. Watched it a few times on home video, I am sure. I honestly don't remember. I assume I saw this in the theaters. I assume I watched this on home video a bunch because I have strong memories of it. The first time I remember watching it, not that I hadn't before, but the first memory I have of watching it, because my childhood memories are fuzzy, is when I was living with my friend Tom. I was probably 21 at the time, and he had just gotten it on DVD because it was like a special release of it. And we watched it, and he's like, "Oh, this is one of my favorite movies." I'm like, "Lion King? I mean, I remember it, but what?"
Do you mean The Lion King, or do you mean
I mean Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
And we put it on, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And I think this is probably where, where like as a boy I transitioned from, I don't want to watch kids movies to, I want to watch kids movies. Yeah, so that's like the first time I actually remember watching it, and I've seen it a bunch since then. It is, assuming we're just talking specifically Disney animation, it is my favorite Disney movie. Like 99% of the time. Favorites change all the time when you ask people, but it's my favorite Disney movie like 99% of the time. I think it is, I think one thing that it does that a lot of movies after it don't do is capture that original Disney magic of like kind of like a simple moral and a nice love story and, you know, some characters that change, that have like a real goal, and then they meet it. And I think some Disney movies do that more and less successfully. I think it's also a matter of stories in general becoming more complex over time, as like we become aware that like, oh yeah, I've seen this. You need to do something different.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's somewhat as animation becomes easier to do complexly, right? Like, I feel like at the time you had to put more time and resources into the physical animation of it. And so maybe there aren't as many hours left for story or adding layers. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's just how storytelling has evolved, though, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
So yeah, what about you?
Oh, this was the same type of deal as The Lion King. This was the first new movie I saw in theaters. And, like, when you're a kid who loves to read and loves to sing, and then you see a heroine come on stage. I'm even saying stage. Come on the screen. Little town, it's a quiet bit. Like, you're just going to be done. Like,
yeah.
You're spoiled on movies for the rest of time. You're spoiled on stories for the rest of time.
Yeah.
I loved Belle. She had brown hair. What?
She's a brown-haired nerd.
She's a brown-haired nerd. She
Like,
loved to read. She
is-
didn't really have, like, a lot of, like, popularity. And I'm, like, 4 at this time, so I don't really know about that. But I know how to read. Like,
and as you grow, like, I mean, you were a theater kid.
Yeah.
Belle would have been a theater kid.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's got brown hair. She
Well,
reads.
she's a good singer.
Everyone thinks she's weird. She sings good.
Great singer.
She's a theater kid.
Yeah, so she had things for me to sing. And again, like, it's just happenstance of space-time continuum that it wasn't Ariel, it was Belle for me because I was just a little too young for Little Mermaid. Yeah, I mean, talk about merchandise. Like, we had everything Lion King, right? But, like, the weirdest things, I had Beauty and the Beast. Like, I had a Play-Doh set with, like, molds of the Beast and Belle you could put Play-Doh in, which, like, didn't super work well because it's hard to put multiple colors in a Play-Doh mold if you're a kid.
You squeeze the thing down and then you get like one long
No,
bell.
not like Spaghetti Beast. It's like
Okay.
a clamp. It's like a
Oh,
like a shell, like a clam shell.
like a double-sided
Yes.
cookie thing.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly.
I thought you were squeezing out spaghetti Cogsworths.
No. Yeah, that would be
Your
hilarious.
Play-Doh factory.
We had a board game, like one of those things where you had to put all the cardboard in the other cardboard to make things stand up, and it
Good.
never quite worked right.
Yes.
I had one of those handheld. What was the?
Tiger.
No, it wasn't Tiger. It wasn't Hasbro. It was not Sega. I don't know. I got one of those handheld games.
I'm throwing money down that it's Tiger Electronics.
It might be Tiger. You're right. So it has like 3 buttons, but there was a game. I had like a hairbrush. I had the Barbie dolls. I had lots of clothing,
Yeah.
books, spirals, backpacks, place settings, a Burger King commemorative cup that is still in use nearly 30 years later. I still have the dinner set too. Sometimes when we run out of bowls, I end up using a Belle bowl. So we just had all the things. A piano book that came with a recorder for some reason. It's not, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's still like watching it for this podcast. I probably watch it once every other year, maybe not as often as Lion King, but yeah, it still like produces feelings.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, just when the like title card came up and I recognized the font and the color of the font, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is, I know how old I am. Yeah.
And it's slightly off. I'm not talking about a thing that was in the parks, but I am talking about an observation from the parks. Belle is your favorite.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
We have video evidence of Belle being your favorite princess.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this is off topic.
Yeah. We'll move on.
Because I have another story to tell on that,
Okay.
but I will wait
All
for
right.
next episode.
Simba wasn't your favorite princess. That's
She
all I'm
is my
saying.
favorite princess. Well, yeah, she's still my favorite.
All right.
I think Rapunzel is a little stronger, but, you know,
All right.
she's my favorite.
So,
All right. I got 2 minutes on hopefully a cookie timer that makes the cookie timer sound this time.
all right. And if it doesn't,
You're just
that's
going to
fine.
read it. This is a cop-out.
No, because this isn't great.
I'll give you a minute to read it after your summary. If you
Well,
want
I'm
going
going
to
to read it, and then I'm going to fill in the blanks. That's my plan.
Ready,
Yeah.
set, go.
Once upon a time, an enchantress turned a selfish prince into a hideous beast. The spell could only be broken if he learned to love someone and earned her love in return. When an intelligent and beautiful girl named Belle comes to the castle, she sends a glimmer of hope into the beast's heart. With the help of the castle's enchanted objects, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts, the beast wins Belle's love and ultimately breaks the spell. Okay, so one,
that's all.
one, there's a lot missing from that, and two, I'm going to fill them in. So first off, Belle doesn't just wander into the beast's castle. Her dad just wanders into the beast's castle, and the beast kidnaps him, and then Belle exchanges her life for his, basically. And then the beast is like, well, you could stay in a room if you want. That happens. She sends a glimmer of hope into the beast's heart. She does. That's true. She sends a glimmer of hope into the beast's heart because he's like, yeah, I know. She could be the one. And Lumiere's like, you should say hello and be nice. And the beast's like, no. The Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts do help her. Also, the wardrobe lady and Chip. You're giving me looks, and I don't know what you're giving me looks for. The beast wins Belle's love and ultimately breaks the spell. That's true. That's all true. There's also a character named Gaston.
Thank you.
Who features pretty heavily in this movie and even has a song with a reprise, and that song is named Gaston. Gaston is this big old jerk who wants to marry Belle. She's like, and he's like, but please? She's like, no. And he's like, what if I give you flowers? She's like, no. He's like, what if I kidnap your dad and send him to the loony bin? She's like, no. He's like, what if I kill the beast? She's like, nah. And then the beast, like, kind of kills him.
There it is.
There it is. Cookies are done.
I legit thought you might forget Gaston because you were multitasking. You were like reading and having to come up with the pieces.
I think I'm going to forget
Gaston. And there were like 30 seconds left. I would have been shocked, but the time was ticking. Good work.
Yeah.
Good work.
I know.
Yeah, that. So what he was reading was off the commemorative cup.
Yeah, that summary was
kind of glosses over
from the cup.
A lot of the movie.
I mean, in fairness, they only have like a tweet's worth of.
Yeah, but Lumiere.
They have to like summarize it in a tweet.
Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts got named checked. Yeah. And there's no Gaston. I feel like I think they're important, but I feel like you can get away with the enchanted objects. Blah 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 blah.
Also, the spell could. It's weird because it's in like this past tense. The spell could only be broken if he learned to love someone and earned her love in return.
In return.
So two things is like that weird past tense, and also if he learned to love someone and earn, I think it should be earn at that point.
So this is a grammar nitpick.
But also,
is this correct?
But also, when you say someone, you don't then say her, you say their. Because you're giving saying someone is like a person.
You're assuming that he is a heterosexual beast.
No, that's not actually my nitpick.
Okay.
My nitpick is that if he learned to love someone, it doesn't say if he learned to love a woman or a girl or something like that.
Yeah.
So when it says earn her love in return, it's confusing because the enchantress is the only woman who's mentioned on this cup at this point.
Oh, that is confusing.
So when you say her, I'm like, he has to learn to love someone and then make the enchantress love him? That's weird.
Dear Burger King copy editors from 1991, we have
issues.
Some questions. A couple of suggestions.
Issues. Your cup has issues, and so do we. Yeah.
No, but that had to be Disney. You don't think a Burger King employee is going to write Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts and spell them correctly?
You know what? Here's the thing: is I happen to work in this industry of having brands tell you what to put on things. It's a whole
thing.
It's a whole thing.
All right.
And it's all marketing departments. Like Glenn Keane didn't write this.
No, Glenn Keane didn't write the story. He just drew things, but yeah.
Right, but he knows these characters.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Angela Lansbury didn't write this.
You know what I hope? I hope Jeffrey Katzenberg wrote it. Like, wouldn't that be a nice, like, capstone of, like, dude, you didn't know anything about animation?
No, it
now
would have
2
been,
movies in, you're right in the Burger King
If
cup.
this was Katzenberg, it would have been edgier.
It would get edgier. Ugh.
For no reason.
All right. So, Dick, I have a question for you.
Kate.
In general, you mentioned Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. People have heard of them. Yeah. Like, even my kids who maybe have only seen the live action version, but I'm doing my best to correct
version,
that. Yeah. They've heard of these titles. They've stood a test of time, 25 to 30 years.
That's true.
It seems like they're not going anywhere in the immediate future. So, to appropriate the Joker, why so endearing? That's just the words I had written down, and it reminded me. Anyway, why are these movies so endearing in your estimation, Dick?
I kind of want to talk about why you decided to go Joker with that.
Well, why so? I don't know. So, one thing I think that makes them really endearing.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna start on a smaller level.
Do we want to talk about some of the just like give like a quick sign of why these things are like, clearly
what our evidence for endearing?
Yes. So like first off, obviously they did crazy box office. Especially Lion King did like $1 billion or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous,
like 900 million worldwide,
which was unheard of at the time, and is
since
way too much money.
Well, and so, like for inflation in terms of animated movie, maybe Toy Story, maybe Frozen at this point. But in terms of animation, it's still unparalleled.
Yeah, it got crazy love at the time. I see Hakuna Matata shirts
I saw one today.
Once a day, once a week.
I saw one on the way to this apartment from school today. An adult, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, both movies got remakes recently.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty and the Beast was nominated for, but did not win an Oscar.
For the Best Picture.
Yeah, for Best Picture.
All of the Disneys at this time win all the music awards.
It's not Best Animated Feature.
No.
That's Shrek.
There is.
Because there's not a Best Animated Feature at this time. Because they're like, the Academy is not scared of giving animated movie Best Picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I think it loses to like Schindler's List, right? Like,
yeah, it's both of these are big years.
I cannot fault the voters for going with that instead of Beauty and the Beast, but damn, Beauty and the Beast is good.
Yeah.
And Lion King
not nominated for an Oscar. All right, fine, but it is the same year as like I think it's like Shawshank and Forrest Gump. And
does Lion King have a terrible Oscar? Oh, we'll get into this. We got to talk about the Oscar performances on the next episode.
Yeah, I think that's the next episode.
On the next episode.
It's technically related. Like, I feel like we could get away with it on this episode. But
no, because we got
one of the reasons we're splitting it is because like we could talk for 4 hours.
So
and
much to talk
no one
about.
wants to listen to that.
Kate, you have like an Ernie Sabella story that I think probably waits till next episode.
Yeah, I think it waits till next episode.
It is.
I have multiple Ernie Sabella stories.
I think we all have an Ernie Sabella story.
A couple.
Even if we don't know him, we know.
Oh boy. So multiple songs from the movies are nominated for Oscars. Mm-hmm. They both win with a song. Like you look at these soundtracks, it's like winner after. There are no skip tracks on these soundtracks,
and like
score included, but like, we'll get to that.
Even out of nowhere, there was like a pretty popular YouTube video, Beauty and the Beat, from like 5 or 6 years ago.
Are you talking about the Todrick Hall one?
The Todrick Hall one?
The what's good? What's good?
What's good?
What's good? What's good?
That's out of nowhere, right? Like
Yeah, a little bit. But like Todrick Hall is one of us.
No, but that was like a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
And there was no reason to do a Beauty and the Beast
At
parody song at that time.
Yeah.
It's just, everyone knows this. Let's do it.
But yeah, people have an affection for these movies.
Yeah.
So
and these movies happened during formative years for us. They are emblazoned upon our brains.
Yeah.
And even if we didn't love them, we could probably tell you everything about them.
Well, and formative years for, the quote unquote adultiest adults in the world right now, right? That aren't like boomers or, people say millennial. There's a lot of generational stuff, but like we finally have the kind of more or less purchasing power, however much you can have in 2019 under capitalism. But like, I feel like the people around our age control more than they used to in more of an adult feeling way, which is one reason why we're seeing a resurgence. But also, like, I think it means something that these are two titles that have really stuck with us. There were a lot, like, booming animation, not just from Disney during our childhoods, and these have stuck around and stayed at the top of a lot of people's lists.
Yeah. I do want to clarify. You called us millennials. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm actually a Willennial. I graduated at the Willennium.
Oh, boy.
So, just to be clear, that's a different generation.
So, okay, so what makes these movies Oscar worthy? What makes these movies worth complaining about remakes 30 years later?
Well, there's a lot. You started to say something though before I cut you off. You said you wanted to start somewhere smaller. And I see you're petting a baby Simba. Does that?
A little bit.
Is that the small thing you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just kind of involuntarily started petting him like he's people.
It's like he's people.
I do think one thing. So speaking of people, there aren't as many people in these two movies as other Disney films. More people.
Say more about what that means, because I understand, but I don't think it's clear.
Beast, not really a person presenting the enchanted objects.
Oh, you mean literal people?
Yes, literal people.
Okay.
Enchanted objects. Lion King is all animals. And there's somewhat of a universality to that, where like you don't have to have brown hair like Belle to like get one of these characters. Like Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts, I guess they are people at the end, but otherwise they're just, it's like Toy Story. Like you don't have a reference point, so they're just fun. Like,
and even less characteristic than Toy Story, which are basically people.
Yeah, there are a lot of people shapes.
At least like our leads.
No, that's true.
But yeah, it's just like, it's a pot. Like
Yeah.
she's got a familiar voice. You might know the Murder, She Wrote lady and be able to picture her in your head, but you also might not. And then this woman is, she's a pot.
Yeah.
And she's whatever you want her to be. She's whatever you want to imprint on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that's good, imaginative vehicle. Like, so it makes for good, like, merchandising, because, like, what do you get? Like, I feel like with all the Barbies we had, like, I just eventually kind of coupled them up and started, like, playing house with Barbies. But, like, what do you do with the Lumiere? Like, you got to be more creative there. Like, it's a candle, so you're just going to play with it like a candle. So I feel like there's more imaginative stimulus. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but
sure, but there's very few people in Brother Bear and probably Home on the Range.
That's fair. So these are just done well with those. Never mind then. That's a great point. That's a great point.
So what I thought you meant, because you bring this up a lot, is that there are a defined small set of main characters and then a larger set of secondary characters, which is something that you mention a lot when we're watching movies and you're like, there are too many characters to care about. I don't care about any of them.
That's exactly where it goes for me. Yeah, you kind of have, you're going to have like three main ones, right? Belle, Beast, Gaston. Simba, Mufasa, Scar.
Yeah.
You kind of have this triangle of sorts. And then you have like your second tier, right? Your enchanted objects, your like LeFou, Maurice, your Timon and Pumbaa.
But I would even say after we lose Mufasa, Timon and Pumbaa are that third character.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's fair.
On their own, like as a pair.
Yeah, I think it's
they become
fair.
the third character.
I also think it's wild that they're not in half the movie. It's over
Yeah.
the halfway point that you meet them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes.
It's amazing that Ernie Sabella did not manage to be in the entire movie.
Well, they just didn't let him cut. The problem is Ernie Sabella doesn't leave.
No.
So if you invite him later, that's
Yeah.
fine.
But they just edited it around.
This is maybe why there are sequels that we're
Yeah.
going to talk about later,
Yeah,
because he just didn't leave.
Ernie Sabella was just in the recording room, like,
Like, well, I guess we could do a TV show. Anyway, yeah, I think it's those tiers that like you always know what's most important, and your second tier characters are very full of personality, and so you don't forget them. You might not know their names right away, especially if you're like, say, a grandparent that little Katie quizzes right after the movie is done, saying,
Yeah.
"What's this character?" Like going out in the lobby and poning out all the posters.
let's talk about that. You saw Beauty and the Beast with your grandfather or Lion King with your grandfather?
Both.
And you quizzed him afterwards.
Yeah, he had stories about both of these. So Lion King was we went out into the lobby and there's like these giant character posters because it was a big Disney movie, but they didn't have the names on them. So I started quizzing him, like pointing to the warthog. What's that character's name? Pointing to one of the many lions. What is that character's name? I think he did okay. I think they did okay. But like my brother and I were like, no, that's Pumbaa. Like,
Who's Pumbaa? How don't you know that?
That one's Timon. That one's Pumbaa. So for us, they were very memorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, the funny, gassy warthog. Like, even if you don't know the name, it makes an impression.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about these secondary characters that I think is really important and I think is forgotten, and we'll talk about later, like positive lessons learned from these movies. But what is LeFou's want?
LeFou's want is to make Gaston happy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What is Lumiere's want?
He wants the beast to turn back so he can turn back. But mostly he wants the beast to turn back.
What does Cogsworth want?
Yeah, same.
Like, what does Mrs. Potts want? Like, their wants are simple or unimportant.
Yeah.
And we don't, like, I feel like a lot of movies try and attach to minor characters a story arc that you're supposed to care about, but I don't care about it because it's a minor character.
Right.
But
they all redirect back to your main characters.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, all of the enchanted objects want to be human again. It's basically the same as the Beast's want.
Well, and the way they do that is to get the Beast and Belle to fall in love. Like that's their only option.
But his want, which is a want we care about, is reflected on these minor characters. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
To make this,
So it's also interesting to me because you bring up the Beast's want, right, is to transform. And yet, like, it's not, he doesn't get an I Want song about it. No. He's, by the time we meet him in the movie, essentially kind of given up on it.
Yeah.
Like, he keeps the rose under a glass still, right? He's holding on to the physical trappings of the spell, but, like, he's pretty much given up. And I think that's also a similarity to Simba, who, like, you as the viewer are rooting for him to be king of Pride Rock, but there's a decent chunk of the movie where he doesn't want it.
Right. He's rejected
and he does have an I Want song where he just can't wait to be king, but then he sees his father die and things change for him.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Like, at that point, he got his wish, so I don't know what he's complaining about.
Right?
He got to be king.
Be careful what you wish for.
Simba, buddy. That is interesting.
But yeah, I think
they both
our
reject.
Yeah, and both of our protagonists, I'm gonna call the beast the protagonist, and I'll explain more of how we got that way later because I like it. They go from immaturity to maturity in a lot of ways, but including like having a moment in somewhat of the third act where they decide that they want they combine their need and their want, which is really cool. So another thing is also the act breaks kind of. Lion King has a notoriously long first act, but
because the second act is Timon and Pumbaa.
The second act is like, Hakuna Matata through Nala coming,
and that's like 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in?
Yeah,
Like typically in a 3-act structure, the second act is your long one, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where all the action happens. The first one's kind of set up.
Yeah.
The third one's like the climax and payoff. But Lion King is like first act.
Teeny tiny second act.
Itty bitty second act.
Itty bitty third act, really.
Itty bitty third act,
like that going back to defeat Pride Rock or to defeat Scar for Pride Rock.
Lion King is mainly like world building.
Yeah, world building.
And character building.
Yes. I agree with that.
And then like thing happens.
Yeah.
But thing doesn't happen until the movie's like there's a chunk of movie behind it.
And Beauty and the Beast also, I would say, has the 3-act structure.
Yeah.
They're more evenly spread out, but as I was watching it this last time, I'm like, oh, things don't pick up till later than I remember. Like, I forget that before really Beast and Belle meet or like have any kind of interaction beyond "You're my prisoner now," like you get both Gaston and Gaston reprise. Like that's interrupting there. So you're constantly going back and forth between scenes, like between settings, in a way that even though you meet the characters sooner, Be Our Guest happens, and I've done the times on this, Be Our Guest happens basically at Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Like it is like within a minute or two.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast and Can You Feel the Love Tonight, the songs happen within a minute or two of each other. So even though the acts are different, the pacing is still, there's a formula. And, you know, formulas can help or harm in some ways, but I think they are very strongly rolled out in both of these movies that I never feel bored. I'm always like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah.
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 These movies are so good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is interesting that, well, as we were watching Beauty and the Beast this last time, I said, oh, this is a horror movie structure. At least the first act is. Because you see Belle living her life. Just Jamie Lee Curtising around and everything's good. No, you see Belle living her life. Everything's good. You see her father go off to do a thing. He runs into trouble. He meets the monster who's the beast. And we don't really see the beast.
You get like a very quick full body. But like it's in shadows still.
It's in shadows, and it's not even from his perspective. It's not from Maurice's perspective. It's from like the floor.
Below Maurice. Yeah.
It is.
You see his face, which I didn't remember before this.
But it's this giant towering version of the beast that just comes off as a monster. And, we know better because we've seen the movie and read the cup, but and also listened to that like 2-minute intro.
Stained glass intro.
But yeah, so we're kind of like greeted with the monster, and then we like, oh, Maurice is in trouble. And then Belle goes and confronts the monster, and it's like a little bit of a horror movie setup. Like I've seen this before, and it's cool because it creates some of that fear, which I think is something. It's like it's an important thing in Disney movies. Like the more we've talked about these, the more I realize that like some of the best movies that Disney made are when there's something besides the whimsy and something besides the love. Like Snow White, you've got a scary chase through the woods, and Alice in Wonderland is terrifying the whole way through.
So you just want every movie to be a Miyazaki movie. Is that the premise?
No, but I mean, yes, I do.
It's a joke because I can't watch Miyazaki
want
movies
every movie
without
to be a
being
Miyazaki movie.
very scared.
But even Lion King has not really scares, but sadness. It's got like the Elephant Graveyard's a little scare. Like there's some scares, but it's not like I would say the big emotion that comes in is sadness over the death of Mufasa.
Well, and there's like real tension. Like my body still tightens up during that wildebeest stampede.
Yeah. Like
in part because I know what's going to happen, but it's directed really well. That like you're zooming in, you're zooming out, you're seeing Simba, you're seeing Mufasa. Oh no, now you can't see them. Oh, okay, now you can see them, but there's a problem. It's
really well directed, like action sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the way, if you have a loved one that really enjoys The Lion King and is prone to falling asleep on the couch, for me, it is very fun. For you, it's less fun, but for me, it is very fun to poke at you and say, "Get up, Dad."
Okay, we're gonna save that conversation for later. But speaking of scary, so the other so I saw Beauty and the Beast in the theaters. Maybe 8 times. I don't know. I was 4. One of the times that I saw it, one of the repeat viewings I saw it in the theaters, I went with my grandpa, and he would tell the story of me being like very excited, very precocious 4-year-old who like wants to make sure that everyone knows everything just because I'm 4 and I know everything.
And you'll enjoy this movie more.
You'll enjoy this
movie
movie if you know it all beforehand. I would like bop his hand or like lean over like right before like the wolves or something. I'd be like, "Grandpa, this is the scary part. Like it's gonna be okay, but this is the scary part. So you might want to like hold my hand or something." And he would still tell that. Oh man,
you are.
I was an obnoxious child, but also like it made it right. Like what? I don't know. I teach 4-year-olds. Yeah. They don't remember anything. Yeah. Like
I don't. I remember
they're
like
bad at remembering
things from when I was 4.
But like me as a 4-year-old remembered the sequence of events in an hour-and-a-half movie well enough to be like, "Oh, this scene coming up." Yeah. This like I remember how I felt. Yeah.
I want to talk about something else that we both remember very well from these movies, and that's the music.
Oh, isn't this amazing? Okay. It's my favorite part because...
All right.
You'll see.
No, we got it. We all know it. We all know the song. Oh. So the scores to these movies are drastically different in terms of the people that worked on them.
Sure.
We've got, on one hand, an experienced pair of songwriters.
An experienced pair of musical theater
songwriters in Elton John and
I see what you did there.
Thank you. No, but Devil Wears Prada. He will soon be an experienced musical theater.
Now he's written a lot of musical theater, Aida, but that was his first one.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew he was going to be. So, no, Lion King it's a pop star. A very musically talented pop star, but a pop star in the vein of, say, like almost like a Sting or a say his name because I can't remember it.
Phil Collins. Oh. So the reason they hired him though was Billy Joel, because
because they did
Billy Joel did Oliver and Company. And The Lion King in its early stages, I mean, it went through many stages before it became the movie it was essentially a throwaway movie for Disney. It was super light. It was going to be a little bit more like Oliver and Company. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, they hired Matthew Broderick basically to do Ferris Bueller again. And then it turned into something different. But so they hired Elton John to do more of like a breezy, easy score. And then it turned into this like Shakespearean tragedy and redemption story, and then like, like, so we have Elton John. I don't know at what point Tim Rice, who's the lyricist, was hired. He had taken over after Howard Ashman's death for additional lyrics on Aladdin, working with Alan Menken. So they already kind of had him on retainer, and they're like, hey, so add this.
And they had worked with him before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the score is Hans Zimmer, who has done like kind of like Spielberg-esque, because John Williams is Spielberg's guy, but Ridley Scott, yeah. He's done like big live action motion pictures at this point.
And like,
and since
big is the right word. He does big scores for big movies.
Oh, he also did the score for Prince of Egypt.
Nice.
Which makes sense.
So he's worked with Brenda Chapman, is what you're telling me.
He's worked with Brenda Chapman multiple times because Brenda Chapman was a story supervisor on Lion King.
There we go.
So there's those. Before I come back to Lion King, I do want to mention Beauty and the Beast is Menken and Ashman.
Yep.
The dream team. They did Little Mermaid together. Ashman was getting sick during this movie, so they did compose all of it together. No one else was brought in, but toward the end of the production cycle and kind of re-recording, like Ashman could not come out to the studio. He would have to be on the phone, and he actually passed away before the movie's premiere.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I know he worked a little bit on Aladdin.
Yeah, they had kind of done a first draft of Aladdin that basically got thrown out. So what ended up on Aladdin was Prince Ali, the Genie songs, Prince Ali and Friend Like Me.
Which are great Ashman
Which
songs.
sounds correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And Arabian Nights, yeah.
And then one jump, we're not talking about Aladdin.
We're not talking about Aladdin.
One jump was Tim Rice trying to do Howard Ashman.
He did a pretty good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did a pretty good job. But only Howard Ashman is Howard Ashman. And there are lines, especially in the Gaston and Mob songs, that are just like, you laughed out loud at this viewing, and you've heard these songs a billion times before.
And Howard Ashman was just a lyricist on Beauty and the Beast. Is that correct?
Well, he's just a lyricist, like Stephen Schwartz is just a lyricist. No. Howard Ashman, I believe, was producer on both Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. He had large hands in the story of both. And especially, it details in Little Mermaid that ended up kind of being linchpin moments.
Yeah,
but
and we talked about that back in our first episode ever. We talked about some of Howard Ashman's contributions to the little
of Life.
Circle of Podcast.
So Beauty and the Beast also started out as a very different movie than what it ended up as. It was the way I see when I see the animatics of the original, it reminds me, do you remember those like kind of like anime fairy tale cartoons that would be just like on random TV?
Nope.
Like you've not seen a Beauty and the Beast in like kind of a Japanese style?
I've seen Little Mermaid in that style,
okay.
I think, yeah.
So it looked and sounded like that, which is to say very dry and kind of boring. I know people have a lot of opinions, but like, well, there was no music. All right. Anyway, I watched the animatics.
I feel like you're throwing Japanese animation under the bus.
I honestly, I think a lot of I'm realizing that a lot of my like baggage around Japanese animation comes from bad dubbing. Honestly, like pauses between lines where I'm like,
and also,
like I fall asleep.
Cheap animation is cheap animation no matter what.
No,
country you
and
go
that's
to.
the thing. Yeah, it's not a Miyazaki. Like
you look at Speed Racer, like that's fun to watch. It's dubbed poorly, and there's like one frame move per 5 seconds.
Anyway, so it was very serious.
Yeah.
And they kept running into story problems and not being able to kind of work their way out of it in the way that they wanted to. When I'm not sure of the timeline, whether Menken and Ashman, when they came into the project, but Ashman comes in and looks at the story with the writers because they wanted to ask him his ideas on it, and he looks at it and he basically says, well, this isn't Belle's story, this is the Beast's story, and that's how you're going to make this work. And that's how they do make it work.
Yeah.
And I feel like one, as an adult, one like weakness of Beauty and the Beast, for me watching it as now, is that Belle starts off as this really interesting character in the first act, and then goes nowhere.
She doesn't really do anything.
And like also like her animation gets poorer in some scenes, like more like far away scenes, but she's like weirdly off model in some scenes.
Yeah.
The Beast is never off model.
Oh no, he's awesome.
Well, but I think this reflects of like they had gotten so far, and then Howard's like, no, this is a story about the Beast. And they go, oh. Yeah. And then acts 2 and 3 reflect that a little bit better.
We have had this conversation before too, when we talk about Beauty and the Beast, and I'm like, well, yeah, the Beast, like one of like a common complaint is that Belle doesn't really have a lot of agency, and there's a lot of like Stockholm syndrome-y stuff. For great conversation about the Belle and Stockholm syndrome, check out Lindsay Ellis's video on said subject. She explains it better than I could. But there's like a lot of like, oh, Belle's not like a very good, like she doesn't really propel the story forward, and she shouldn't. It's not her story.
No, it's not. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yes, and right.
I mean,
like,
could she be a better character? Yeah, but
I guess I feel like the setup, right? Like the first song in the show is, it's a good Johnny Sun tweet. Like Belle at the beginning of the movie, I want much more than this provincial life. Belle at the end of the movie, I guess living in this castle forever is fine. Like,
that's
she
not
gets
provincial.
set up. No, I guess it's not provincial.
Also,
she gets the I Want song though, right? And I feel like it's not super fulfilled at the end.
Yeah.
She's getting a different life, but she wants adventures in the great, like I feel like she has a singular adventure and not adventures.
I would argue that her story isn't the first one told.
That's true. That's fair.
First part of the story told is the Beasts.
Yeah.
And I'm
thinking musically. Yeah.
We meet him later, but over music, over not
not Aquarium from Carnival of the Animals.
I was going to say Carnival of Souls, and I knew it was wrong.
Ooh.
Not over not Aquarium.
Oh my gosh.
We hear the Beast's story.
Yeah.
And how, like, we get his I Want first.
That's
it's not in song, but like Belle is again kind of like a horror movie. The main character in a Friday the 13th movie is Jason. I don't care how many people you put in that movie. I don't care how much backstory you give everyone. I'm there for Jason. I'm there for Freddy Krueger. I'm there for the Beast. Like, this is the Beast's story. There just happens to be a civilian involved in it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because I'm thinking musically. Like, the music of this movie is what sticks to my bones.
No.
And Belle's got a lot to sing. The Beast has just my paw.
Yeah.
And that's it in this movie. Like, he doesn't get to sing outside of that song.
Gaston has an I Want song.
Gaston has 3 songs.
Yeah. And one of them is kind of, I mean, he's got I Wants in 2 of 3 of his songs.
Gaston does the most solo singing in this movie. Belle's got like 2.5, like, Belle doesn't have her own song. And when she does, it's like 30 seconds long.
Huh.
Yeah. Gaston has a song to him. I mean, it's LeFou's too, I guess, but like, you keep on saying his name, so... And the mob song is basically him.
That's LeFou's song, mainly.
Yeah,
the mob song is Gaston's, though.
Yeah.
It's like a crowd song, but it's his.
He's got the... He sets up, I think, the first 2 verse choruses. Anyway, the music is just like... And that's why... Oh, no, I can't talk about this. Okay, next episode.
But let's talk about... So Ashman and Menken...
and Menken does the score,
right.
which is incredible.
This is like his first score he ever did was Little Mermaid.
Yeah, this is his second
the
score.
Second score.
And it's like
did.
the Little Mermaid score is good. It's fun to listen to. This score is like, one of the greatest scores of all times in terms of like motivic work and like complexity and how did you go from Little Mermaid to Beauty and the Beast?
The final scene during there's a track on the album called Transformation, which is during the Beast's transformation. And I will cry listening to that track because it is like in the music, it is what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
But also you don't have to see what's happening on the screen, which is a horrible travesty against hairy men everywhere.
But the glow that comes out of his fingers, that's cool.
Which, I actually don't like the animation on that scene at all. I like nothing about it. It just looks like Doctor Who.
That's fine. I like it until you see his face, and then you're like, oh.
It's like, oh, why does he look like that?
Is this the prize? I don't want it. Like,
why? No. Okay, we're gonna get back to music.
Okay. So
no. This is happening.
Okay.
We're gonna get back to music because I want to talk about the guy who may have made most of the music in Lion King work.
So, okay.
We're going to get to that.
We're going to get to that. Okay. I have a segue.
Great. But first I want to talk about the Beast and his prince form. I need to talk about this. That's why I said we're going to go back to the music.
Continue.
Beast, so Belle falls in love with a large, burly, hairy, a little rugged monster.
Yes.
But he's a large, burly, hairy, rugged guy.
Anthropomorphic in many. He stands on 2 feet.
He stands on 2 feet.
He uses his hands as hands.
He's got a beard. He's got long hair.
Yeah.
He's rough. And then when he turns into a prince, he's this weird,
dainty,
like, gooey faced. I don't know how to describe his face other than weird.
It's like gooey and angular at the same time. It is off-putting.
Blonde.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dirty blonde. Yeah.
Completely lacking in facial hair. Now,
I mean, he's got a lot of hair on his head.
Yeah.
But that's it.
But as a dude I just sprout hair all over my body.
True.
I am much like Gaston in that way. I have hairy arms and a hairy face and a hairy head and hairy feet. I am beast-like.
Do you use antlers in all of your decorating?
No, I am beast-like.
Oh.
I have I have living cups that are my slaves. But like Gaston would be a much more suitable person for him to turn into.
Well,
even more so, a dude with brown hair and a beard, so he at least looks like the Beast.
Yeah, so we were watching an old episode of Cheap Seats the other night, and we solved this problem.
Oh.
You need the professor from Saved by the Bell, the college years. That's who you need. I looked at him, I'm like, that's what the prince should look like.
For those of you that didn't watch that, but might watch sports, it is lineman Bob Golick.
All right.
I don't know a lot about football, but I know Bob Golick.
That's the third most
should
famous
like.
thing I know him for. Saved by the Bell, Cheap Seats, I guess sports.
But he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's got like a big furry face.
He looks like
big
look
furry
him up.
Hair. He looks like the Beast.
Like a beast.
He looks like the Beast.
He's even got like weird long like late 80s hair.
Yeah.
Like
he's great.
Like Michael Bolton-ish, but like big. Yeah.
He looks he looks like a pro wrestler. He looks like Dr. Death. He looks like any of a number of Mid-South wrestlers from the 80s. Like, he is a large, barrel-chested man that could either be really strong or pretty strong and a little fat. He's awesome.
So are you okay with the light coming out of the fingertips if it's Bob Golick who ends up?
I mean, I still think it looks dumb.
Okay.
But sure.
See, that seemed to me like I love it every time. Like...
the light to me feels off.
Okay.
Because again, like the Beast isn't light.
No,
there doesn't need to be a light.
No, there's a transformation. It's more transformation than the Beast itself. What I see being done storytelling wise is it's drawing attention to the actual digits changing, so you know kind of where to look on the screen.
I can kind of tell that because there are claws turning into hands.
There's not much else on the
very
screen
eyes.
for each limb, but
yeah, when light beams come out of his toesy woesies, it's a little goofy for me.
So you talked about it in that scene. You like know where the beats are when you're listening to the music.
Yes.
Like you know when the toesy woesies are shedding light.
Yeah.
For me, that is in Hans Zimmer's score in The Lion King. Like I can see the confrontation between Simba and Scar. Like I know what every like I can see the swipe. I can see
weird
the embers.
slow motion shot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That is my problem with The Lion King. I think it's a perfect movie, other than like 8 seconds of slow motion footage during that scene that just look weird. My theory is they had something more violent sketched out, and then at the last minute, Katzenberg or someone was like, nope, you got to replace it. And they're like, well, we already wrote the score. What are we going to... All right, take this 2 seconds and make it 8. Go.
Kate, I am declaring something right now. At the end of this episode, when we do our scene shout-outs, we can absolutely do our normal scene shout-outs, but I also want us to shout out a scene that we do not like in our favorite movies. You don't have to do one.
Well, I've already done it.
I'm saying you don't have to do one for Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, but
okay.
I want like a long explanation of a scene you don't like.
Sure.
Great.
I could do that. So I know where every swipe is. Like this score, usually if I had a Disney cassette, and I had all the Disney cassette, you listen to side A, and then you rewind and listen to side A again, and you rewind and listen to side A. With the
side B is the score.
Side B is the score. Why would you listen to the score?
Side A is all the songs. Side B is the score. So why would you ever turn your tape over?
Even like when the pop version comes on, you're like, oh, this is done.
Like,
rewind.
Oh, Peebo Bryce.
Peebo, get out of here. But The Lion King, like, I would listen to both sides, especially if I was like, I don't know why I was taking a nap as an 8-year-old. Maybe it was like sick days or something, but like
kids nap.
I have specific memories of like laying in my bed listening to like da 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 da.
I also feel like as a kid you're made to go to bed like 2 hours before it's realistic for you to fall asleep.
I will clarify that these memories are daylight based, but I agree with you on that point.
Okay, well, in the summertime, if you go to bed at 8 o'clock, it's still daylight. Yeah. So whoop wham.
So the score, like,
whoop wham is my new catchphrase. Is it working?
No.
Let me try it like 10 or 20 more times.
So Hans Zimmer, great work. Elton John, great melodies. No. Tim Rice, fun, memorable lyrics. They're not all winners. That's okay.
Yeah, and those are the only people involved. So we can move on.
And then.
What?
There is Lebo.
Who?
Lebo.
What?
Lebo M is a South African musician. Hans Zimmer brings him in.
Rent is based off of him.
Hans Zimmer brings him in. He's like, this movie takes place in Africa. We need someone who is from Africa. Good idea, Hans. More of Disney should do this. Anyway, so Lebo is hired to add lyrics various places. He's hired to get together a choir of singers. I think they are South African singers in this movie. I don't think it's a choir assembled and then taught Zulu and Xhosa. I think it's South African singers.
Cool.
And so like anything you hear in the movie that's not English is Lebo, and it is freaking fantastic. Like that Nyansingonya, right? Like it's right now there's a kid in the middle school above us who outside every day or in the gym like starts singing Nasigoya. Like he doesn't know the Zulu words, that's fine. He wasn't in our production. But like this kid just like will just start chanting Lion King. Like maybe it's from the live action, but
Kate, based on everything I know from before I met you, the words are na nahetya na nabiti dabo.
Nyansin gonya mabagiti baba sitiyun gonyama gonyama gonyama. I didn't know the Zulu before I directed it, and now I do.
And what is it?
So it's
Kingdom of Mufasa.
Well, so here's the interesting thing. Lebo is hired. He writes the lyrics, and then Disney bosses ask, "Great, what does it mean?" And Lebo tells Hans Zimmer, he's like, it's about apartheid. This is 1994. And it is. Like, these are all protest songs that he wrote. He's like, it's about apartheid. And Hans Zimmer, and so the lyrics are like, behold, a lion has come, like, to defeat the leopard. So it kind of sounds, if you just translate it like that, it sounds like, oh, interesting. But, like, the symbols in, like, African tribes, I think it's the leopard or the jaguar, like, represents evil. Yeah. And it would have been known to a South African that he's basically, like, talking about Mandela and the white regime in South Africa. Mm-hmm. So what Hans ends up telling the Disney executives, he's like, oh, the lyrics are, look, a little lion. Everyone look at the lion. Like, they just make shit up so that the Disney executives will buy it.
Zimmer? Good allyship right
so,
there.
Weirdly, Lion King is sneaky, one of Disney's more progressive soundtracks.
Soundtracks.
Yeah, soundtracks. Because the movie is about maintaining the status quo and not letting anyone else be in charge.
Keeping outsiders away.
Yeah.
Building a wall between lions and hyenas.
Yeah. No, it's upsetting. Like, it is an upset. And, like, there's a lot of, articles and podcasts on, like, the inherent racism in some of the voice casting that, like, yes, you have James Earl Jones as Mufasa, but, like, you have the hyenas speaking, quote unquote, like, hood, right? Like, they're street accents, and they're all actors of color except for, Jim Cummings.
Like, James Earl Jones has a very white passing
or like
voice.
Shakespearean kind of
very so
regal.
And I tease you a lot about
and it's
about
there.
The hyenas.
It's absolutely
being lower class outsiders that we don't want in our kingdom because they're gonna ruin everything.
Yeah,
because they don't work.
Yeah, and you only see, like, there are probably mostly good hyenas out there. You only get to meet 3 bad apples, right?
Also, they dry out the water somehow. It's
unclear the mechanics of that.
Yeah.
So what I choose to focus on is Simba's internal journey. It's not the life's a journey, not a destination.
Oh, but how far can you fly on broken wings?
Just push play.
Well, that's not the same song.
All the way.
So
anyway,
it's not the same song.
Lebo is great. I also like the story of, like, the day before they're recording Circle of Life, Hans Zimmer, like, loses contact with Lebo. He can't get a hold of him to be like, hey, we're recording tomorrow. Can you confirm that you will be there?
But
he cannot
it's not like
get
Circle
a hold
of
him.
Life features Lebo. Like, he just wrote the song, though. So
Lebo is... Yeah,
the first thing you hear in Lion King is Lebo.
Lebo.
We'll link it like in the show notes, or we'll link it on Facebook. But also just look it up. Look up Lebo.
Yeah.
And like just Lebo. That's his name.
Lebo.
And like one of the first results will be him singing Circle of Life like 5 or 10 years ago.
Oh, not the Oscars one.
And sounding exactly the same.
Well, he did. Okay. Yep. I agree with you, and I have another point to add next episode.
Okay.
So they can't find him. And then, like, the day of recording, he just kind of, like, shows up at the door. And he's like, hey, guys, ready to record? And everyone's like, where were you? Yeah, that's fine, Lebo. Just get a microphone.
I'm on time. I don't know. So yeah, Lebo is the secret sauce.
He's the secret sauce. It's interesting because any one of these musicians by themselves, like, I've heard the Elton John demos, and I know we have different opinions on late stage Elton John.
Late stage Elton John in 1990.
Last 30 years Elton John. Anything so after his voice changed.
Everything but Crocodile Rock Elton John.
Oh, no Tiny Dancer. A couple. Anyway, I've heard his demos. They have the same melody, and yet I don't recognize the songs.
It's almost like a demo is an unproduced version.
No,
that's
but
expected to be changed.
Sorry, I misspoke. I've heard Elton John's single versions of the songs in the show. The melody is technically the same if I play it on the piano, but it's not like the orchestration. This is really, I think, I love Elton John's melodies. I tease on it. I rip on him. I think he wrote some great melodies for this musical. Obviously, it's perpetuated. But I really think this is an instance of like the sum is greater than, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Like you've got Hans orchestrating, probably you've got Tim Rice orchestrating some things too, because he comes from a musical theater background. You've got Lebo adding in a different, like you said, special sauce. And it's just beautiful.
It's lightning in a bottle. It's magic.
It really, and it shouldn't, for this movie that was supposed to be a throwaway Ferris Bueller kind of situation.
But also just like, hey, let's get the Crocodile Rock guy and this South African writer,
and like Andrew Lloyd Webber's lyricist,
and just throw them in a room and see what happens.
And Ridley Scott's composer, and
it just worked.
Yeah,
it really did.
So, Dick, you mentioned that the transformation, just listening to it, can make you cry.
Yeah.
These are movies that make us cry.
That's true.
Maybe,
so
I don't know, maybe it makes more sense to save it for scene shout out, but like...
No, let's
Can you shout out some cry moments?
All right. So...
Either movie, I guess.
Beauty and the Beast, it's the intro. I cry at the beginning of things if I already know them. I've become a big fan of the show Hades Town, currently running on Broadway. Go see it. I cry at the end of that show, but also like I went and saw it a second time, and like the lights went off. The cast walked out on the stage, and I started crying. The first time I saw Wicked, I had like listened to the soundtrack, but that big bum 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 bum, I started weeping.
Oh, I instantly wept then too.
Because I'm like overwhelmed by what's to come, and I'm like just excited about seeing this.
Who wrote the score for Wicked?
No one you've ever heard
of.
You
haven't heard of him.
Yeah.
Steven Schwartz.
But so like I cry at the beginning of things a lot of times when I cry. So that like intro sequence in Beauty and the Beast, and also in Lion King. In Lion King. Like Circle of Life is gorgeous, but also the thing that happens in Lion King.
Boom.
Oh, like Circle of Life ends. Boom.
What a weird thing to put in a movie.
Yeah.
Like 3.5 minutes in, just black, and here's the title.
But with a boom.
Freaking works.
It really does.
Like,
correct me if I'm wrong. Circle of Life was like a trailer for The Lion King.
Yeah.
It was just like, would you like to see a trailer for our new movie?
Would you like to see the greatest trailer ever made?
Here's the first 3 minutes as it will be in the movie, and including the boom with the title of the movie, which seems to only make sense in a trailer, except for in The Lion King. Similarly, the boom at the end of Lion King.
Yeah.
To let you know that the movie's over. I get little tears.
Well, but it's also Circle of Life. It's bookend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like those booms are absolutely do it for me. Kate, as the kids say, WBU.
What?
What about you?
Oh. My kids don't say that.
No, the kids don't actually say that.
Beauty and the Beast, tears well up. I want much more than this provincial life. Do 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 do. And you get like the rallentando in the orchestra, and you get this huge zoom out to these like rolling hills of France with autumn colors. I think this is a big reason why autumn is my favorite season, because it just looks like Beauty and the Beast. It zooms out. And then she goes into her, adventure.
That's the Sound of Music shot.
It is. It is. It's literally the Sound of Music shot.
And that's not a dig, but no, I'm just saying, to clarify for the audience.
Also effective here.
We've got our Sound of Music shot, this big shot of Belle on a hill.
Yeah. So much that, like, we went hiking a couple years ago to, like, it was a weird hike because it wasn't really a hike. We just kind of walked through a neighborhood for 6 miles until there was a waterfall. But
Wait, are you talking about us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was great.
But it was like early autumn. The leaves hadn't quite changed, but like it was upstate enough in New York that there were a little bit of hills and there's a river valley. And like we got to the top and I like started tearing up because I'm like, this is Belle Reprise. This is Belle. This is it. I want much more than this. So it's just, it sticks. I love that moment.
So what is it like emotionally that moment does?
It's literally the swell.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there's too much. Ashman's.
It's like the swell of the music.
Ashman's thing is when, when you can't express it in words anymore, you have too many emotions, you got to sing.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, even though she's already singing, but that's beside the point. You have to sing louder. So we can hear you. It's rallentandos in music, which is a slowing down, but like an especially dramatic slowing down, really get me. It's like the reason why kick lines like inspire spontaneous applause at musicals. Like there's a chemical like response that you're getting to it, and it's this like tension and release.
You don't want to go see the Rockettes with me.
Well, I've already seen the Rockettes.
It's like all kick line.
Yeah, but it's the moment that leads up to the kick line. It's not the kick line itself. It's
Okay.
you're like, but and so another place in the movie that makes me cry is the right before the kick line and Be Our Guest. Da 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 da. It's spinning, spinning, spinning. Ba da 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 da. Course by course.
Yeah.
One by. Oh my gosh! Like I'm tearing up now
Yeah.
because it's just that tension of the slowdown and then the release, and then you've just got so much going on, and it's the same in Belle Reprise. So it's musical moments in Beauty and the Beast.
Are there any moments in The Lion King?
Well, it's funny you ask, Dick, because it's the whole damn movie. No, Circle of Life for sure. The bumps, like, there's so many details, and the color is so spectacular. You've got that. You've got. I'm trying to think of another moment before the big one.
Pumbaa's fart.
No.
Shinji.
I mean, to a certain extent, like Mufasa's cloud ghost coming back. But that moment is significant and teary-eyed only because of, like, for me, probably the greatest scene I've ever witnessed in cinema.
Zazu running into a rhino's butt.
No, he gets squished by the rhino.
He gets squished by a rhino's
Excuse me,
butt.
madam, get off. No, it's the wildebeests have passed, and Scar has said, "Long live the king," and let his brother fall to his trampled death.
I mean, thrown his brother.
Yeah,
to
he
his trampled
does
death.
throw. And so you just see this mass of inanimate lion on the ground. Simba, who already like Disney is very careful about their like size ratios. Like they have these charts, but I feel like for Mufasa and Simba, they change sometimes depending on the scene and depending on their dynamic. In this scene,
And even like the camera angle.
yeah.
Right?
So in this scene, Simba starts to walk toward his dad. Simba looks like the smallest little runt compared to this massive being on the ground. You get another wildebeest running by after a few seconds. It's so good. Mm-hmm. And Simba is he looks at his father on the ground, and the animation and the pacing and the storytelling and the voice acting, he starts by saying, "Dad," and then he smiles, "Dad, you got to get up," which is a callback to an earlier moment. And then the smile fades away again, and then you see the Kubler-Ross stages of grief in like short form, right? You see like denial, you see like sadness. Oh, it's
way to name drop Kubler-Ross.
yeah. But it's and Dad, you got to get up. Tries to lift the paw, can't, so he just snuggles under the paw instead.
For fans, listeners, Kate is now crying.
I can't. It's like kids losing their parents. I can't. I just lose it. But it's for me in this last viewing, like I was looking because I'm like, I know I'm going to weep. Like I need to be paying attention to like crystallize the moments. And for me, the turn point is Simba smiling. He's like pretending it's a game, even though he already knows.
Yeah.
Like Simba already knows that Dad's not waking up, but it feels like I get a sense memory of like there was a one time where like I was driving in a blizzard and my car like went off the road. Like it was like slippery. I went like over a median, back over a median into a ditch. And like I was lucky to be alive, but also there was a bit of me being like, oh no, this car must be totaled. But like, oh, but maybe it's not totaled. Maybe I can just keep driving. Like maybe this isn't a thing. Like I can just keep driving and this was a close call. And of course it's not. Then you have to like get your car towed and find somewhere.
Your car?
That I did not total that car.
Hey.
I totaled a different car. But
I'm so glad I drive.
Yeah, I'm so glad I don't drive.
Yeah. So
blizzard conditions, but like I empathize in that moment of like I know this is a bad situation, but like maybe it didn't happen. Like maybe I can just continue as normal.
Maybe if I pretend,
it'll
be okay.
Yeah, and then the sync after that is that much more profound, and then for Scar to come in, run away and never return. You know that Simba's going to take that bait immediately
because he wants to run. You've
seen like, and then if an adult had comforted him in that moment, how would his story have been different? I think it especially carries weight when you know what's going to happen too. Like if an adult had been an adult, moment of silence on my part for that scene because it's great. That's all because this is a podcast. But
so I'd like to bring up a completely different thing. It's just a question about Beauty and the Beast. It has been addressed by other people, but I want to get it out there. So there's a bunch of servants that get turned into cups and plates and stuff. Right?
Uh-huh.
What happened to the cups and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, is Mrs. Potts' soul inside of a teapot? Or did she get turned into a teapot? Because that's what it seems like.
That's a strong question.
But then shouldn't there be like another teapot somewhere?
So I think kind of what my brain wants it to be, and I don't know if this is canon or not. Things with eyes are people. Things without eyes are cups and stuff.
Are like just animated, like the plates are just animated.
They become enchanted, but they're not necessarily, they were never humans and they're not going to be human again.
So somewhere there's a teapot that is just hidden.
Yeah, or they don't own a teapot that looks like that.
I mean, but
they don't own a teapot. I don't know.
You think the Beast doesn't own a teapot?
Yeah. So where this falls apart is I think all the little chips in the cupboard, I think they all have eyes. And you only see one kid at the end.
And the dog doesn't have eyes.
The dog doesn't have eyes, but
the dog has eyes.
But I think, to be fair, I think it's a shaggy dog where you don't see his eyes. So it could be that the fringe on the ottoman is covering his eyes.
Hiding the eyes on the ottoman.
Just like a dog.
Hey, if you're a listener and you're good at art, please draw an ottoman with eyes because it would creep Kate out.
With the show, it would creep me out. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Yeah,
because like they're like dancing plates and silverware in Be Our Guest that do not have eyes.
Yeah,
but like other eating receptacles, including Mrs. Potts, that do have eyes. So it's not like one type or the other.
Blowing air from.
Yeah, that's also
he blows bubbles, but how?
It's kind of like a blowhole situation, but also he doesn't have any.
There's no hole.
There's no there's no pocket in which to build the tension to blow a
It
bubble.
doesn't make any sense.
No.
I just feel the need to bring some of these things up.
Maybe it's like, maybe he's like an insulated teacup and his face is just on the outside layer and then there's an
Like he's
inside.
a thermos?
Kind of. Yeah.
I think we'd notice.
Yeah, but a straight up hole would just let the water out.
Also, he's named Chip because he has a chip out of him.
See, that could just be the enchantress making a funny, right? Your name is Chip. I'm going to make you a...
But also, he has like a chipped tooth.
Injured.
Right?
As a human?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. That might not be true.
That sounds like something you're making up.
That does.
No, he's got a crack in his porcelain
Yeah.
head.
But as a human,
guess.
Does he have no chips out of him?
I think his name is just Chip. I think that's the joke.
It's weird.
I think you're doing a Cars here.
I think
I'm you're pulling a Cars.
I'm not pulling a Cars.
They're enchanted objects. They can work however the enchantress wants
And
it.
here's the thing. And I do want to address that. You said I'm pulling a Cars in reference to me being very upset at Cars because it's inconsistent and doesn't make sense.
Sometimes the headlight is a nose. Sometimes
it's
the headlight
boobs.
is boobs. Yeah.
You can't have both. It can't be both things. You have to pick one and obey the rules that you made.
So I'd
Beauty
say,
and the Beast obeys the rules that it made.
because there's one of everything and that's all.
And there's never a point in this movie where I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like people make fun of, like, oh, you're complaining about Superman can lift a building, but he couldn't lift that big rock, but you're not upset that he could fly. And it's like, well, no, you've set up rules in the movie. If the rule is he can fly, he can fly.
Yeah, it's more the internal, right? Like
it's the internal logic, yeah.
Cogsworth's nose and mustache are on the inside, we think.
Yeah.
But then Maurice sneezes on the outside, and then his hands are able to windshield wiper it, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You can't do that from the other side.
And it's
there are problems.
It's unclear, yeah.
Like there are some consistency issues, but also they're enchanted, so I don't know.
But there's not...
Maybe they can clean the other side of glass.
There's not an economy that's that it is unclear how it works.
Yeah, the stakes of the objects being what they are.
Internals are not a main story point.
No.
But
that's fair.
One other thing I want to bring up about Beauty and the Beast, this is not that. Is the music? This has both Beauty and the Beast and Lion King have non-diegetic songs.
Yeah.
They have songs that are being sung by the characters, but the characters are not literally singing them on screen.
I'm trying to think if there are any exceptions. I think you could argue Gaston as like a bar song, but I don't think that it would be a strong argument.
What?
I'm trying to challenge what you're saying. I'm just trying to think.
Sorry. So I guess I want to make it clearer what I mean.
Okay.
Is Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Mm-hmm. And
Beauty and the Beast.
No,
I see
Beauty
what
and
you're
the
saying.
Beast
The
is sung
song
by
Beauty.
a character.
Oh.
So I guess
I see what you're
non-diegetic
saying.
isn't the word, but something there that wasn't there before. Mm-hmm. And Can You Feel the Love Tonight are much of the song not sung out loud by the characters.
No, but it has portions where the characters sing in a voice that sounds like them. Yeah.
Right. So like Can You Feel the Love Tonight starts with Timon literally singing.
Yeah.
And then it's two lions playing while there is music.
There's an unidentified, kind of like Circle of Life, an unidentified narration singer. So 2 songs in Lion King are not really sung by the characters.
So I would not describe Circle of Life as an unidentified narration singer. That's Nala and Simba singing.
Circle of Life?
Sorry, not Circle of Life. Can You Feel the Love
who sings
Tonight?
Can You Feel the Love
Nala.
Tonight? What?
I don't know.
Is that what you've thought your entire life?
Yeah.
Cool. I've never thought that.
Why not?
It's a different singer.
Oh.
It's a different singer, and the timbre is all different.
I've not identified
That's
that.
so cool.
You're welcome.
How does that change things? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. And
So
I don't totally believe you. So
Whoa.
That's
So
okay.
you've been thinking that Nala has been why isn't it Simba too that sings it? Is he not feeling the love tonight?
At the end, they sing together.
So
absolutely. Absolutely,
there's a version of the song we can talk about next episode where that's absolutely correct.
All right, we'll look at this.
In my reading,
but Nala and Simba do sing this song.
But in my reading, Simba only sings the "so many things to tell her" that part, and Nala only sings it's he's holding back,
but
he's hiding.
Don't a boy and a girl sing together at the end?
Not really. It's more of an ensemble. It's more like Circle of Life. There are male voices, but I'd say the soloist is only a female.
So
this is fascinating.
So
I'm so glad this came up.
So anyway, in this song, we have Simba and Nala singing.
Yes.
But their mouths are not moving because they are not literally singing.
They're lapping up water, yeah.
Similarly, in Beauty and the Beast, we have a scene where the Beast and Belle are singing.
Yeah.
But their characters, their mouths aren't moving. They're not literally singing.
It's internal monologue.
One of them sings, "My paw."
The other one sings, "Alarming."
Yes.
Like Streisand.
This is great.
Because that was the note she received from Howard Ashman. Single word, Streisand. And then she did it exactly the way he wanted.
She did it perfectly. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a neat parallel.
And that's not something that happens in Mermaid. That's not something that happens in Aladdin.
Yeah, that's correct. I'd have to think more about those two movies.
It does happen in Prince of Egypt.
It's possible that Aladdin... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Don't fact check me live on air.
I have a working knowledge. I was starting to go through the songs, but then it's going to take up too much time. Then anyway, yeah, but in terms so going back to the term non-diegetic, these are pretty squarely musicals. You know, like Fathoms Below is a sea shanty that the guys on the ship maybe are singing. I don't know if you see their mouths move, but it's implied.
But yeah, there's shipmen.
Prince Ali is probably diegetic.
Like he is,
it's happening
he
in
is
the parade.
Singing to this crowd of people. Absolutely.
But yeah, these two movies, not so much. Maybe Hakuna Matata, you could make an argument for.
Hakuna Matata could be, but it's a little
especially
iffy.
with their improvs at the end. The Hakuna Matata, like they could just be.
My question.
Yeah, sorry. Lion Sleeps Tonight. The little.
They are actually
Nathan Lane.
That, yes.
As they're hunting.
So again, diegetic meaning it is actually happening within the world.
There is music playing in the world, or music singing in the world.
So, like, if music was happening, so if there's a person singing it, and we are meant to believe that they are literally singing, it is diegetic.
Like, say, a stripper mouse in a bar where Basil and Dawson are.
Correct.
Diegetic.
So, we've addressed some of the songs, but there's one song that I want to figure out. Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Because at the end...
Yeah.
I don't know if at the beginning, but at the end, we absolutely see Mrs. Potts singing the song Beauty and the Beast. And Belle and the Beast are dancing
They are dancing. So I think less than her mouth moving, where like other characters' mouths move during technically non-diegetic songs because they're just saying it. So she could just be telling a story to Chip, right? But my argument for diegetic would be actually Lumiere's that last dun 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 when he's dimming the lights to the music.
Yeah.
Like that's
everything is happening to that music and they are dancing to that music.
But I don't know where the instrumental would be coming from then.
It's unclear.
Maybe there's like cellos and things.
Yeah, there's a haunted cello somewhere. So it's interesting. They're dancing to music somehow. Or
not, and it's just weird.
That's possible.
They're just dancing to silence,
which feels very like The Room, right? Like it seems like something that would happen in that movie. But at the end, Mrs. Potts is clearly singing. So here's the question: are Belle and the Beast dancing to a song
called Beauty
about them, with a pretty mean nickname for one of them.
But
And being like, these two people are gonna hook up. Doo-dah, doo-dah.
So here's another question I had. Who calls him the Beast first? Like Gaston does, but like Belle says, "Show me the Beast."
Yeah, well,
but the objects never call him Beast; they call him Master.
I guess her dad kind of calls him Beast,
is he the one who kind of gets the moniker? Yeah.
Yo, it is not clear, but at the end she's like, "Show me the Beast." That's his name.
Similarly,
Beast.
No one calls Rafiki the name Rafiki except for himself. And when he says it, he says, "Let old Rafiki show you the way." Now, Rafiki in Swahili means... Yep.
Incorrect. He says, "Let old Rafiki show you. He knows the way."
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Rafiki in Swahili means friend. Mm-hmm. So he could be saying, "Let old friend show you the way."
Yeah,
he could be meaning the Swahili word.
He may just not have like a name.
And his name is just for merchandising purposes. And for like Robert Guillaume to know where he's supposed to speak.
Well, but yeah, also his name is in the script. So.
His name is in the script.
So we do know that he has a name.
But like so is the Beast's, right?
Guillaume
but like
is great.
Yeah.
Can we just do an episode on him?
The whole voice acting cast of both these movies, but specifically The Lion King is memorable. Yeah. I mean Beauty and the Beast as well.
Well, can we Oh, we can't. It's not related, but we'll talk about Robbie Benson later.
Yes, we'll talk about Robbie Benson later. No, these voice casts are like, yeah, no, we will.
We have so many stories for the next episode.
And I knew these voice casts growing up. We had books on tape that had, like, the first page was just a big blow-up version of, like, character, actor. And I was like, yes, I'm memorizing all these.
Character actors.
Well, kind of.
A lot of them, yeah. David Ogden Stiers, for sure.
I remember seeing an episode of Celebrity Jeopardy as a kid with my mom that Jerry Orbach was on, and
actual Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yes, yeah, not Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
But Alex Trebek introduced him as like star of what was he on? Law and Order. Star of Law and Order and this thing, and I turned to my mom. I'm like, why didn't they say Beauty and the Beast? And then she's like, so that little kids wouldn't think that like Lumiere isn't real. I'm like, do kids watch this show? And she's like, that's a good point. I don't have an answer for you. I'm like, why wouldn't you name the most famous thing he's been in?
We live in New York. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert for you. Spoiler, we live in New York. And this is absolutely like a Paul F. Tompkins bit or a Patton Oswalt bit or something. But there were billboards for a while talking about how like Jerry Orbach gave his eyes to science.
Oh yeah.
And now two people can see.
Uh-huh.
So there's a chance that we have met someone with one of Jerry Orbach's eyes.
I mean, I guess that's true.
That's possible. We may have met Jerry Orbach.
I mean, probably a lot of people met Jerry Orbach with Jerry Orbach's eyes also.
Yeah, but we didn't.
Yeah,
but
we didn't.
Maybe we met one of Jerry Orbach's eyes.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, one time I saw Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick live and the producers. It was great. Also, one time, because of The Lion King, I had a childhood crush on Nathan Lane. That turned out well. That turned out really well.
You still love Nathan Lane, though.
I do still love Nathan Lane. We recently saw him. We saw him in Gary. He was great. The show was challenging.
Challenging makes it seem like it was
People
good.
who've seen it twice, like, love it. People who've seen it once don't. We've seen it once.
Challenging makes it seem like it was good and that it challenged us. It was not. It did not. And I refuse we'll see it twice and you'll get into it. That's the same as people being like, oh, Wheel of Time is a boring series if you only read the first 3 books. Or like, no, Final Fantasy XII is great. You just have to play for 60 hours before it gets good. No, make it good the first time. I'm not seeing it twice. I'm definitely not seeing that a second time.
Anyway, it makes me happy that people still recognize these people for their roles. Like, I feel like Angela Lansbury is Murder, She Wrote to a certain number of people, like a certain generation. But I feel like our generation's like, oh, Mrs. Potts. Like,
Yeah.
Like when she sang at
Or
the
a
end
little
of
night music.
maybe
They're like, oh yeah, send in the clowns. We know that.
she sang at the end of the new Mary Poppins movie,
Oh.
Mary Poppins Returns, and it like in spite of ourselves because we hated that movie.
It was so bad.
Like in spite of ourselves, we both start tearing up because it's like
The second I heard her voice, I started crying,
Mrs.
and I
Potts.
didn't know why. I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm so bored. Oh, I got it.
tell us all this time.
Yeah.
I sang that in a 4th grade talent show with my neighbor Danny. He played piano.
Yeah.
We brought down the house. That's all.
Is that true?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you put it back up?
Well, I was told I should sing jingles. I've got a good voice. It was a weird interaction.
That is
It was
weird.
4th grade. Yeah.
So, Kate,
All right.
do you have anything else you wanna? I mean, I know we have
Like so much,
we
right?
could go on. I know
This is why we have to do 2 episodes.
and there is so much.
there
more
is a lot more
could
that I
say
wanna
about
say.
just these individual movies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk all about Whoopi Goldberg and how she might be a bigger Disney fan than we are, but that can be in the next episode.
And Jim Cummings,
And
like,
oh my God, Jim
and
Cummings,
his,
when
like,
he's not playing a firefly, he's
outtake
great.
reel from just like an hour of laughing like Ed the Hyena for various takes. It's the greatest piece of behind the scenes footage I've ever seen.
Yeah, so we're gonna start wrapping up. We're gonna head into the final cuts. I do want to say, hey, if you're out there and you're listening to us and you want to hear us talk about some movies that you love, please hit us up. Facebook seems to be where
the heat is.
Where the heat is right now. But you can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, email, or whatever. And also make sure to stick around for episode number 2, which comes out in another 2 weeks.
And all of our handles are Celmates Podcast.
Yeah.
And the email is @gmail. So that's .com, that's Facebook, that's Twitter, yeah.
But yeah, and make sure you come back for that second episode because Kate's got some Ernie Sabella tales. We could probably just do 2 hours on Ernie Sabella.
Yeah.
And he might show up in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a Beetlejuice situation, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
How many times did we say his name?
I don't know. Knock, knock, knock.
But so let's jump into the final cuts. Let's start wrapping things up, Kate.
All right.
Before we get into our regularly scheduled final cut of scene shout-outs, I want to do a scene shout ins.
Scene shout away.
This scene sucked, Ziz.
Some kind of preposition. Yeah.
Kate, take a scene from Lion King that you don't care for or that doesn't work for you. Break it down for us.
Yeah, it's that slow motion scene.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It's this weird thing in the movie. So the fight scene is well choreographed otherwise. You've got swipe, you've got fire, you've got this amazing score behind it.
This is the ending fight scene between Simba and Scar.
Yes, and they are dialoguing during it. It's very it's very Shakespearean, right? This movie is based on Hamlet in part.
It's very Star Trek-y.
Sure.
It's like, here's a big punch, and then we'll talk for a little bit.
But that's like a sword fight in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So they're having these big conversations, right? Of like, you killed your father. No, I didn't. I killed your father. Say it louder so they can hear you. So Simba like starts to kind of regain his confidence and like this lie that he's heard that he's internalized.
He gets like extra
his
strong
life.
based on emotion.
Yeah. So it's this beautiful scene, and then they they get on their hind legs to like attack each other, kind of like standing up, like. And it's just, I mean, as I said earlier, I think they had more footage and they had to cut it, but Hans's score was done. So it's just this slow motion, like you could add like a choo 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 sound effect as they're like lunging toward each other, and it's like, give me a normal frames per second. No, like choo 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 choo. I don't know.
Once upon a time there was a river train.
Give me like a number of frames per second that a normal movie is.
24.
Okay, so it's like 1. Like
I mean,
it's like 4 frames per second.
Legitimately, we're at like 4 FPS. It's chunky.
It is. It's chunky, and I think they tried their best to make it look stylized and not just cheesy, but they didn't get there. And especially because the whole scene around it is like a 12 out of 10 that when it dips, you're just
It's
like,
such
what?
a weird part of
And
the
it's
Lion
very
King.
long. Like, even longer than I remember. I know it's coming, and every time I just, I shake my head.
It's like, no, don't pay attention to this part.
Oh no, this again. Yeah, I minimize it in my head between viewings, but it's pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
But like, okay, there's 6 seconds of The Lion King that don't work. Done. For me, at least.
Yeah.
Lion King for you, Dick?
Oh, I'm doing Lion King too.
Oh,
no,
either
this
one.
This is fine. So Lion King scene that doesn't work besides the slow-mo fight. Well, I'll tell you what bothers me is Scar chasing Simba off and then sending the hyenas to kill him. That's just a bit that bothers me because it's just it's very James Bond villain. And like I've tried to justify it in my head as, oh well, he doesn't actually want blood on his hands. He doesn't actually want to do the deed.
Yeah.
But he just killed someone. He just killed his brother.
Maybe he can't kill
So it's
a
like,
baby.
what's holding you?
And also, like, the hyenas have effed up a previous plan days earlier. Like, they are not to be trusted.
Also,
2, excuse me.
sorry, it's a little one. Zazu singing "It's a Small World" after all. Hate it. Hate it.
We'll put a pin in this. I got news for you next week.
I've got news for you. It sucks.
You're gonna hate it more.
Good. Wait, did Katzenberg put it in there?
No. I'm just saying. In our next episode,
Did Mike Myers originally say it? No. It's so Shrek. It's so hacky. I'm excited for the next episode because I feel like I don't know what this is.
I feel like I've told you about it, but that's okay. You're forgetting this moment.
I have a poor memory.
Yeah. All right, so Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, no, I think I know what it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast. What doesn't work in Beauty and the Beast for you?
So it's like, it's little moments. It's not entire scenes.
Yeah.
It's like the animation of the townspeople at the end of Belle. Because up to this point, they all have faces that kind of look on a universe model with Belle and Gaston. And then at the end, they're just like Warner Brothers characters. With like goopy noses and like beady eyes.
You're taking my bit.
Well, yeah, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird.
There's some in general.
Can we talk about the one guy in particular?
No. He sounds like that. We can't hear it, but he sounds like
But it's right at the end of Belle. There's this guy with a belly.
Yeah.
And his shirt's like
sticking out of his shirt.
His shirt isn't covering his belly, and he's got like puffy blonde hair, and he's got a face where it just looks like he's going Merp. And he's so he does not belong in the world
in the universe
at all.
No.
It doesn't make any sense for him to be there. I've kind of grown to love him. He looks if anyone watched the show Hysteria, like I did. There's a character in Hysteria.
I actually know who you're
that
talking
he
about.
looks a lot like. So
I haven't thought about Hysteria in 20 years. That's
because why would you?
There are certain moments of the.
Okay.
In general, I really love the objects fight scene with Gaston's kind of crew at the near the end of the movie. It's like super cartoony, but it works really well. There are some moments that are like, oh, this is like very sexist, or like, this is a little bit homophobic / transphobic. Like, there's some like just moments of like, yeah, this was the early 90s. We didn't have one of the guys goes into the wardrobe and then he comes out dressed as a woman, and it's like funny because he's dressed like a woman. It's like, I don't know if we need to mind comedy from that. I don't know.
Okay, in fairness, he did not go in dressed as a woman.
No. And I do think there's a slight
magical wardrobe changed his clothes.
Yeah. I get it.
I'm not
saying
that's not part of it.
It doesn't make me laugh, so I don't know. I do also think it's a green skirt, purple bra, and a red wig. So I do think it's a slight Ariel reference as well.
Maybe that's why he was screaming, is because it's universe breaking. He's like, oh my God, I've just realized that we're all cartoons created by this company. CK, you're just not looking deep enough into it.
Yeah. So, yeah, similarly, like the Lumiere and the Feather Duster stuff is like, okay. And then like anytime that Belle is off model, like it super bothers me.
Can you pick a specific time where she's very off model?
Yeah, there's a scene where she and Maurice are so I can like picture the scene. I can't picture where it is in the movie, but like she is sitting with Maurice. Maybe it's outside of their house, or maybe it's I don't know, but it's far enough away, and like her face is shaped different. It's like concave in a weird place.
Yeah,
and it's just like who did this? Like, who did this to you?
that's interesting. My off-model moment where it really bothers me is during the like wolf fight when the beast is like chasing the wolves off her
With the hair?
Like her hair is like down,
Yeah.
and her face I feel like changes, and she just doesn't look like her.
I can understand that.
It's really weird. It's like an Anastasia where like it's like maybe
The hair physics isn't correct.
like maybe your hair just moved, but you've become a different person.
Yeah, like the hairline moves. I can get that.
Yeah.
I like hair down Belle. I think that's neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. Also, like,
Okay, you've got a few.
This is not a scene. This is I don't know how the ballroom hair works. Like,
Say more.
think of Belle's hair in that ballroom scene.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, it's not fastened anywhere, and like the weird bun she has like is super loose.
It's just pinned.
You can't do that with hair. I don't know.
No, you can't do that with hair. But a magical wardrobe and a magical brush and
Yeah,
some
I
magical
guess.
bobby pins
I feel like
that
I
are
know
alive.
how the beast's hair is like staying in place.
Yeah.
Belle's is just a mystery.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's part of the magic.
so should we move on to scene shout-outs for good things?
I thought I had a scene here.
Did you? I'm sorry.
I
You
mean,
like Beauty and the Beast. I'm sorry. Go.
you
Go.
you gave like 10 different scenes that didn't work for you in Beauty and
I'm
the
just
Beast.
in my airing of grievances
and
stage.
took all of the ones I had previously thought of.
Well, see, there you go. Now you don't have to say anything bad about it.
Thank you for that. But I can still, I'm sure, find something somewhere inside of Beauty and the Beast that doesn't quite work for me. And that thing is the song Beauty and the Beast is just terrible. I hate it. That's not true. That's a lie.
Put a knife in my heart.
That's a lie. Kate, I'll tell you what, this is not a negative scene shout out, but it is a part of Beauty and the Beast that is really silly and goofy and dumb and has recently become one of my favorite parts of Beauty and the Beast for being so silly and goofy and dumb. The Beast is trying to win Belle's affection and be nice to her. He knows that she likes books, so he takes her to a library within the castle.
Within the castle.
Where she is a prisoner. And she opens her eyes and she's like, "Oh my God, it's amazing." And he says, "Do you like it?" She's like, "Yes, it's amazing." He says, "Well, then it's yours." He gives her
not a lot of logic to it.
Gives her a room in his castle where she is a prisoner. What does that even mean? What does that come close to meaning?
Yep.
It's a phrase I've been trying to use more around the house.
There's a lot of
Like, oh, hey,
problematic.
Hey, Dick, you this floor is really clean. You did a good job. Well, if you like it that much, it's yours. Okay,
It doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
Like, if you like it that much, come here as often as you like,
Yeah,
or like help me purchase my next book order. Like,
what is the difference between a room that is hers and a room that is not hers?
I guess the West Wing is forbidden.
But is the bedroom hers?
Yeah, like if she likes it that much, is it hers? Yeah.
She should have just been like, "Oh, cool. I like my freedom."
There's, sometimes I get upset at people poking holes in Beauty and the Beast, but there are just so many holes to poke.
Yeah.
I still love the movie.
And I forget
love it.
I forget about the holes while I'm watching
It's
the movie.
a very
I'm so wrapped up in it.
porous film.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
to
counterbalance
sponge up some of the
yeah,
porous. I'm trying to.
Kate, why don't you pick a scene in Oh, I don't know. Let's do Beauty and the Beast first.
Sure.
Tell me a scene in Beauty and the Beast that really does work for you, and that really does work for you.
Yeah.
I said it right
So-
the first time.
I'm glad I forgot this because now I can use it now. A scene that does make me cry in this movie is when Maurice has been freed from the castle. Belle has taken his place. And he runs into town like, someone's got to help me save my daughter. And he stumbles upon Gaston and his crew in the bar. He says, someone please help me. And they like fake humor him for a while.
Yeah.
They go, does he have big fangs? Yes, big, terrible. Is he 6 feet tall? Yeah, he had 8'10". And so they go, sure, we'll help you. And he goes, oh, thank you so much. Like he is believing in their kindness and their help.
Polite.
He's so polite. Yes. He says, oh, thank you. And then they throw him out in the cold and laugh
help him
at
out.
him. And like his like earnestness in that moment.
Yeah.
That he's like, he really thinks that these guys are going to help him. You know, as the audience member, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, he's desperate and he's so grateful. And then they just throw it in his face. And oof.
No.
It's good character work.
Wow, nice. Yeah, you've really learned to hate Gaston there.
Yeah.
Because up until like I'd say like Gaston kind of just starts out as a jerk.
Right.
He's kind of a Biff Tannen from Back to the
Yeah.
Future. He's just kind of a bully. Like he's not cool. He's kind of like a little.
He's vain.
He's vain and he's
all about the outside appearance.
I just finished my sexual harassment training course at work, or anti-sexual harassment training course at work.
Good clarification.
And Gaston violated. So, I mean, they're not in a work type
not in a workplace
relationship,
environment, yeah.
but you know, just because you're not in a work environment doesn't mean it's not sexual harassment.
That's right.
So there's, you know, he's got some problems, but he's just kind of a jerk. And this is the point. This is like the point where he starts to turn from just like being kind of a jerk to like, oh, he's the bad guy. He's not just like
Gaston
pompous.
is not the villain song.
Right.
The villain song is the mob song
Yeah.
later, but yeah, he starts on this turn at this
Yeah.
point. That's a good angle. Cool.
Yeah.
What is Dick? Could you shout out a scene from Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I'm going to go like a little bit of a different approach, but also mention the same guy. Real quick, a guy we forgot to mention this whole time is the asylum.
Tony J.
Tony J. He runs the asylum.
He sure does, and you're making hands like
I'm
him with
making
it.
hands
Yeah.
to indicate.
Mr. Burns' hands, yeah.
Yeah, it's Cloud Frollo from Hunchback.
It sure is.
Has like 5 lines in this,
Yeah.
and every line he speaks, I'm just like, what's
Frollo?
Frollo? He's that voice,
He's a good villain. Good villain voice.
so good. Yeah, so I will say that my scene shout out as an effective scene is Gaston, the song Gaston. I'm not going to talk about, because it is off limits for this conversation, any other versions of Gaston where
I don't know what you're talking
Josh
about.
Gad's may be in it.
What?
I'm just saying I'm
Wah,
not
wah, wah,
I'm
wah.
not talking about Josh Gad and how terrible he is
Next episode.
in
Talk
most
as long
things.
as you want. Next episode.
But Gaston is like, I laughed a lot in Gaston, both at the lyrics and at the animation, because there is some really funny animation, especially like LeFou trying to catch eggs and they like all land on his face, or and a lot of it to music, which is really effective. And you see Gaston go from being really down and depressed to being very like, I am awesome. I am full of myself. And you see that like, it's not just him. Like Beauty and the Beast is society, man. Like Gaston is not just a prick because he's a prick. He's a prick because all of these people boost him because
he's enabled.
Yeah, he's enabled. And then at the end, we've got the mob song where he is similarly enabled. It takes a village to raise a Gaston.
His capital it helps him get what he wants, even though it's not in anyone's best interest.
Yeah, so it establishes that relationship of him and the people, but it also is just a funny song.
Yeah,
dude eats eggs. I am, by the way, also not going to mention any different lyrics that I've heard where Gaston, for some reason, isn't covered in hair.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, that's next week.
I'm just saying that
You made fun of me when I said, should we have a special sound
I told you
for when
that
one of us goes off track, and you said you're going to hear it a lot because you're going to be the one that's doing it.
I'm not off track, though.
Of the two of us.
I'm not off track because I'm expressly stating that I
So
won't
there
mention
actually, speaking of verses, there are like a ton of other verses that Ashman wrote. Like he wrote like twice the verses. I will mention where they might appear next week.
Okay. But by the way, the Gaston song is very much in line with what is probably my favorite song from Tangled. Even though
I've got a dream.
Yeah.
I've got a dream.
Which is Alan Menken writing that song.
Alan
solo.
Menken writing a bar song.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I think I could do Gaston like on my own. That's pretty good.
Let's put it in 2 instead of 3. No problem.
Yeah.
Cool. The Lion King.
Yeah.
Scene shout out. So the natural one would be Dad, gotta get up, Dad. But I don't want to cry again. So I'm going to try to expand my horizons.
Yeah, we're trying to get you to cry once per podcast as like a maximum. But generally less crying.
Okay, so I do really like the scene. So Simba convinces little Simba convinces Nala to go off to the elephant graveyard on an adventure.
Yeah.
They're going to lose Zazu. They do. They go. Things do not turn out well for them because hyenas try to attack them. They only get away because Mufasa comes, and it's a great moment where like Simba's trying to roar and go rah, rah, and then all of a sudden his mouth opens and you hear roar, but it's because Mufasa has entered. So Mufasa saves their little lion butts, and then they are walking back home, and Mufasa says, Zazu, you could take Nala home. I need to speak with my son. And Simba's face just drops and his head dips below the grass like, oh, I'm in trouble. And that moment into following his dad and the very iconic visual of Simba catching his foot in his dad's footprint, looking down, seeing how much more giant this footprint is that he is physically and metaphorically stepping into as
how much
heir
more
to this throne.
Growth he has before he can be
right. And it's like it's very, I'd say, like by the book in terms of like motivic storytelling and like symbols and stuff, but it's super effective, and it gets me every time. And like that, the very real emotions of like, I need to talk with my son, and the busted, and like Nala being like, well, I thought you were brave. Like, it's all very real emotions. And you even get a crack in Zazu, like, good luck. Like he's been this like very like stodgy caretaker all through this time, and he's like, oh, good luck. It's very real, very powerful. Small moment.
Nice.
What about you, Dick?
So I've been like tossing this around in my head. I really like, everything with Timon and Pumbaa, except for I don't really love The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah, that's fine.
And like I would almost just want to watch a movie about their adventures. But that's not.
There could be a couple episodes in the future that you might be able to talk about that.
I just want to. It's silly because it's not like a big thing, but I want to shout out just the Rafiki.
Yes.
scene.
Thank you. No, I was toying between both of them.
Rafiki, and like Star Wars didn't invent this, but Rafiki is Yoda.
Uh-huh.
He starts out as a goofy idiot that just annoys and pesters our hero and steals his snacks and hits him on the head with a piece of wood.
Staff, yeah.
That's what Yoda does to Luke. That's what Rafiki does to Simba, and it's very funny because with Yoda, you do not know that he is the wise Jedi Master because you haven't met him before. With Rafiki, you know who he is.
Yeah.
But he's just being a goofball because, I don't know, because he thinks it's hilarious, which I love.
Because you are a monkey and I am not.
Whoa! Yeah, he's really, really funny in this moment, and Simba is not into it, and that is making Rafiki laugh even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, follow Rafiki. He knows the way. Like, that's a really fun line read, and the music picks up, and he's got the chase, and it's really beautiful, and it leads to the scene where he sees Bleeding Gums Murphy and Darth Vader and the CNN guy in the clouds.
All in the clouds, yeah.
No, where he sees his dad in the stars, and it's a really beautiful moment. But I think the lead up to it, I think if you didn't have that lead up to it, and if it was just like Simba is somber, and then he goes to be somber with his dad in the clouds, it wouldn't work.
No.
Without like that levity and a little bit of like that adventure. There's some jokes, there's a chase scene, and then there's this stars all in like a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. It's like a quick little 3-act structure of a scene. Yeah.
And there are lines in the Rafiki Simba interaction that just make me laugh out loud. Yeah. Like, because his correction, I know your father. No, my father's dead. Nope, he's alive. And then there's silence. They stare at each other. Bye. Like, and he just goes away. Oh my gosh. It's even funnier in Spanish. Like, adios. You have more syllables to say quickly. Anyway, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Kate. If I was to give you the chance to pick an MVP.
Lebo, Lebo.
Yeah. Do you want to say more, or do we just move on?
I'm not sure that I need to. No, I appreciate the authenticity that he lends The Lion King. Yeah. I appreciate his we'll talk a lot about it next week. His rabid enthusiasm for being a part of this project.
Yeah, we've got a lot more level
rabid
to talk about.
Enthusiasm, and his stuff is amazing. I don't know how much, because he'll end up next week. He'll end up taking things in the score and doing things with them. So I'm not sure how much Hans Zimmer wrote. I don't know if the score was also a collaboration. I need to look more into that. Yeah. Because there is some Busale Simba yo busale in the score. So I don't know who wrote that melody, but anything that I know that Lebo wrote in that movie, it's just the most fun. Yeah. And it's world building, but also it gives a very distinct, it's regal in a way that you've got other languages happening in Pocahontas. You've got Latin in Hunchback, which does add a certain gravity, but this is another world.
Now that
another universe of storytelling.
Now that I think about it, Paul Simon was doing stuff with African choirs for a while.
He was.
It is not crazy to throw Elton John with Lebo.
No, it's not.
Sorry, that's all.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I swear there's a pop star that was hanging with African. Paul Simon. Yeah.
And then I think the problem was that Paul Simon was I'm not really going to get involved in apartheid issues. I'm not going to take a stand.
He's like,
I think that was a problem
Paul Simon
for some of the people
you know
he worked
what?
with.
I think I might play Sun City. I think I might.
No. All right, MVP for you, Dick Ward.
Oh crap. That fat off model guy whose gut's sticking out of his t-shirt. So it's a hard one. I was thinking of doing Rafiki until I said him in my scene shout out because I really legitimately
there's not a weak link.
No,
here.
there isn't. But I think there's one person out of this whole thing who can make us cry just by existing, and that's Angela Lansbury.
Oof.
And so I want to shout her out for doing the best version of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, have you heard Howard Ashman's?
I have not.
Howard Ashman's version is the reason she took the role. She turned it down. And she's like, a singing pot, this doesn't sound like a thing for me. And then Howard Ashman sent her his own personal demo of Beauty and the Beast, and she's like, oh, I get it. I'm on board. I'm in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Angela Lansbury's version is probably better.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably slightly more tuneful.
She's better, and she's better cast for the part.
Sure.
But yeah, she's just generally amazing. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch Murder, She Wrote because I like. There's nothing I've seen Angela Lansbury in that I'm like, meh. I'm just like, yeah,
she is endearing.
Oh, yeah, and she just has this amazing quality to her voice that is like matronly. Or like grandmotherly, maybe, because she's got like a little bit of a warble or a little bit of a
like
crack.
a rasp, yeah.
A rasp, yeah, and it's just so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Angela Lansbury wins
Very
my
effective.
MVP. Yeah.
So normally I like to make my crossover, which is where we take an element from each movie, cross them together.
Yeah, which can be like characters or creatives.
Yeah.
Or,
normally I like to differentiate that from my MVP.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen this week.
No.
So, well, I'll start by saying, like, there are a couple, like, genie wishes that would be, like, totally not for, like, world peace would be very nice. It would be very nice. Like, there's a lot of things that would be very nice.
We don't talk about these beforehand, but I already know what this is.
There are genie wishes that would just be just for me. One, I need Lin-Manuel Miranda and Howard Ashman to meet. I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
2, I want to go back in time. 92, maybe 93. Probably 92. I want a time machine and in a parallel universe. I want the whole Disney team, like everyone who works at Disney, sitting down and everyone saying, all right, we're splitting into 2 movies now. After this movie Aladdin is finished, we're splitting into 2 movies. That actually happened. Alan, we want you on this King of the Jungle picture. We're putting Elton John on Pocahontas, right? So, like...
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not a crossover at all.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not done with my wish.
Okay.
So, what I would like to hear is Alan Menken's Lion King.
Okay.
I am actually pretty convinced it would not be better, right? I just want to hear it. What would he have done? Because he's very motif based, right? Like, you've got the beast like da 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 da.
Yeah.
You've got do 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 do.
Right.
You've got do 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 do.
Okay.
Anyway, he's a motif king.
We know the motifs.
What would the motifs have been? Like, what would he have drawn on? Because he did draw on some Middle Eastern features for Aladdin. So, like, how deep would he have gone? I don't think Lebo would have been involved, and that's my true crossovers. I want Alan and Lebo to work together.
I just assumed that was going to be your crossover.
Yeah, well, that's where it's going. But, like, if not that, the genie wish, the bare minimum, I just want to hear Alan's demos for The Lion King.
Okay.
I think it would be fascinating. It would just be... just as someone who, like, enjoys composing myself and is just a musical theater nerd, like, what would be different? Would he find different beats? Would he find different, like, styles that fit the characters? And would that have altered the path of the characters? Because he could have done it. Like, Alan Menken, I don't know if you know this, pretty talented composer. He could have done it. I want to hear the demo tapes, but also just Alan and Lebo.
You say that.
Together forever.
I feel like you love Alan Menken in a 10-year span.
He still writes, like, the best melodies. I it's not my it. The man's made a lot of money. He's worked very hard. I'm not faulting him for anything he's written past Tangled.
Okay.
Not faulting him. He's done. He's contributed his fair share and then some to society.
I just
we
know
don't need to worry about what he's doing essentially in retirement.
There are a lot of opportunities to see new Alan Menken things that we do not take.
Well, I saw Hercules in the park. That had new Alan Menken songs in it.
Okay.
Anyway, no, I'm not going to see A Bronx Tale. I'm sorry.
I still don't see why not.
Anyway, I love Alan. Alan, I love you. Show me your Lion King songs.
From 1989 to
Little Shop was like 82.
From 1982 to 1996.
No.
Kate, I don't know my years.
All right, Dick, what do you cross over?
I don't know. I got distracted during years and I stopped thinking about it. To be honest. Okay. Here's my crossover.
Good.
It's going to be a Looney Tunes style show. Mm-hmm. So very comical.
Uh-huh.
Sort of an Elmer, Fudd, and Bugs Bunny thing.
Okay.
With the Gaston and Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay,
Gaston
that's a little scary to me.
Well,
continue.
Again, to be clear,
yeah.
It's a Looney Tunes style fun show.
Yeah.
Elmer, Fudd, and Bugs Bunny.
Uh-huh.
So Timon is obviously smarter than Gaston, so he gets one up on him every time.
I understand what you're saying.
In this show that I have created and can pick the rules for.
I'm just saying Pumbaa is actually the smarter of the two of them. Timon just steals his ideas.
Pumbaa
canonically.
Pumbaa is slowly smart.
Yes. Timon comes up with more ideas, I guess.
But also
quantity versus quality.
Does that make Timon dumber than Gaston?
No, not dumber than Gaston.
Since Timon is smarter than Gaston.
Excellent.
Yeah. Just let me have my thing.
I wanted to stand up for Pumbaa.
Timon is smarter than Gaston, is all I said.
Which means the part of the wheat that you throw away in Swahili, the chaff. Pumbaa.
Great. Gaston?
Simba's lion. No.
Timon outsmarts Gaston, does a bunch of fun things. Pumbaa is more the muscle and the heart in the show. But Timon is the Bugs Bunny. Pumbaa can't be the Bugs Bunny.
No, that's true.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So that's my show.
All right.
That's my crossover.
That's interesting.
You're welcome. Cool. So, Kate.
Yeah?
It's time for the final
cut.
Final cut. Where we decide, okay, are these movies, should we re-release them in theaters? Like, are they just ready to go? Do we need to do some sort of, like, special edition to fix them up a little bit? Or do we just chuck them in the vault, never to be seen again? So, your choices are re-release, special edition, or put it in the vault.
That was a very long intro for what's going to be a very short answer. Can I do both movies at once?
No, Lion King.
Re-release.
That's
absolutely re-release.
Just re-release as is.
Yes. Do a whole campaign. Everyone should see this movie in the theaters. If I had been able to see it again in the theaters this year, in its form, because there's only one Lion King movie, as far as I'm concerned. There's only one movie with the title The Lion King. There's only one. I don't know what else you're talking about.
I don't.
I would see that. I would see that in
Disney's
theaters.
The Lion King.
I'm referring to numbers after a title at this point. Anyway, I'd see it in the theater. I'd bring everyone I know. I'd tell all my kids to go. I'd maybe give them money to go. Honestly, it's so good, and it's so good in a theater.
Yeah.
Chillingly good in a theater.
Nice.
What do you do with Lion King?
Special edition.
Oh, no.
Hundo P. I take out Lion Sleeps Tonight. No, I'll leave that in, even though I hate it. I take out Small World because I hate it.
It's funny.
Nope, don't reference yourself. It's so boring. It's so dumb. I fix the slow-mo. And there's like a couple of other tweaks I make to this movie. Nothing big. Just there's like a couple of tweaks that can be made to make Mufasa more of a good guy and make it a little less. I don't understand why the water disappears. It doesn't make any sense. So I think there's like a couple of tweaks we can make here. Hey, don't worry. I'm going to make some tweaks to Beauty and the Beast, too. So Beauty and the Beast, Kate.
It's closest to a re-release. But honestly, I had special edition, and like the animators are still alive. Like, just reanimate what you didn't have time and money for. Like,
I mean, they did
not
it.
back. The backgrounds are lovely.
Those are the ones who did it in the first place. So maybe we get new animators.
No.
So the ones that didn't do it right the first
time.
No.
So Beauty and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast is the main reason that they split into two studios after Aladdin.
Yeah, because they were rushing.
And because it went through multiple versions, they were rushing extra. I think they had to do the version that we see. I think they had to do it in something crazy 9 months. Start from scratch at that point.
That is 3 times as long as the My Little Pony
and what they got out of it. Yeah. So it's incredible that they got the movie Beauty and the Beast the way it currently looks in a year or something insane like that. Yeah. But yeah, they can go in they've got all the models. They've got don't make Belle's face look punched in sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know, that. I don't even need you to change the ensemble members in Belle. Just focus on your main characters. Make sure that you get them right in every scene.
Yeah,
that's all.
Nice.
What about you?
Man, you know what? I want to go back and cross over the chubby guy whose belly is showing with Pumbaa. I think they'd be good friends.
You just really.
I hated him.
Do you feel like you identify with this guy?
I mean, sometimes I lay around with my belly out. That happens more when you're not home. Sometimes when you're home. So here's the thing about Beauty and the Beast. It's a great movie. It's got some flaws, and I think we can fix those. I think we can do a special edition. I think we can clean up some of the animation, like you said, clean up the character models of our main characters. I think, people nitpick, the intro about how, the Beast is,
11 or something.
Yeah, or something that happens.
That's not important.
Which, not important, but if you just have to change one word to make it work, fine. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
And I think we can recast. I think Josh Gad would be a great LeFou. I think we get
all right
the girl from.
You're getting into next week.
We just.
So that's the thing, and we'll talk about this next week. There are only so many changes you can make before other holes start falling.
Or before you're oh, you know what? It's here. Okay,
because I would love to change Belle's character. Yeah. I can't do it in the animated version. There's not room for it.
This is a metaphor that will not work for you, but you've seen me do it on occasion. Fixing a movie like Beauty and the Beast or The Lion King, and you're right. These are both re-releases. You can't special edition these. It's like trimming your own beard. You trim up one side a little bit more than the other. You're the right side's a little bit higher than the left, so I'm going to fix that. And then the left side is a little bit higher than the right. And you keep on making those changes, and by the end, you don't have a beard.
Right.
Because you have shaved it off, and you've gotten rid of your sideburns, and you've maybe shaved your whole head, because you're I can't get this even.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think, I do think, there are people who are well, Beauty and the Beast, all these kind of weirdly not feminist, even though they're purporting to be feminist, because the female has more to do, and more to do than Cinderella. But
you know what?
And
there's Taming of the Shrew is a problem.
Well, and there's an argument that we shouldn't show kids these movies anymore. There are better ones. There are, even if you're going to go with Disney, Frozen is better female leads in terms of models and agency. I don't think there's a reason to throw them out. But I do think Lion King I might just show. Beauty and the Beast I might sit with the kid and be I wonder what else they could have done. I wonder what else the Beast could have done, or I wonder what else, have you heard Belle talk in a while? Why not? I think I might challenge it a little bit.
I feel every movie, I'm not a parent, so no judgment on parents because I understand. It's way harder than it seems.
Oh yeah.
But I think like if you're showing a movie and your kid has interest in it, like it's worth asking some questions and worth throwing in some context. But what do I know? My niece, we watched like a Barbie shopping video on YouTube with my niece, and I have no idea what's going on there.
YouTube now is like has a thing where like it's like kids playing with toys.
Yeah.
You're watching kids playing with toys that you could be playing with, but you're watching a YouTube video instead.
But also like
yikes.
I got a video of like toy commercials from Toys R Us one Christmas, and that was my favorite video for a while. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a whole other thing of like, how much do we really need to go over the morals of every single thing children watch, and like, at what point are you just lecturing? And then it's like, okay,
well,
so here's the thing about, I know this is like a cute video of a Barbie doll shopping, but there's actually no ethical consumption under capitalism. So this whole thing is flawed from the beginning. Let's talk about Marx and what he would have to say. Like,
and it's all balancing, right? Like, I feel like I turned out okay as an adult, and I grew up obsessed with these movies. I ended up with a very equitable partner, and like, not right. Like, I'm not here to be like, oh, if only I could change you. Like,
I mean, you've made some changes.
Stop that.
I sleep on pillows now.
That is true. I did
didn't
add
used to.
pillows to your life.
I was very much the
You
beast.
did. I think your quote was, "You did not believe in them."
I didn't.
But also, I don't think you had a good pillow.
I still don't fully. I still think I could live my life pretty easily without a pillow.
Anyway, I do feel like a whole generation of like very fine feminists grew up watching these movies, and they were fine because there were other things in their life to balance. Yes, is Frozen an improvement in terms of like showing girls what they can do? Yeah, it is. It's not about the quality of the movie. The quality of the characters, absolutely better.
I'm sitting here thinking about it.
You're like, you're giving me a skeptical face, but like Elsa and Anna, way better characters than Belle. Absolutely. Also, they've kind of got more. Well, they've got more to sing. I won't necessarily call it better music to sing, but
I would
you've got a baby defying gravity in there. Hey, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they're good movies. They're good storytelling.
Yeah.
Good storytelling. Oof.
Speaking of good storytelling, we've been telling this story for over 2.5 hours.
It's like a tale as old as time.
So we're going to go now.
Yep.
We will be back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Or immediately if you're listening more than 2 weeks from
Late.
when we release this. You could just listen to these right in a row. Why would you? But
it's almost
you could.
like we'll just like walk across a log, swing our heads, and then it'll be
walk across
2
a
weeks
log,
later,
not swinging our heads.
or however long it takes for a baby lion to become an adult.
Here's the deal. You can hit us up at Celmates Podcast Twitter, Celmates Podcast on Facebook, CelmatesPodcast.com.
Cellmatespodcast at gmail.com.
That's the one.
And let us know what you're looking for.
It looks like butt.
Let us know what you're looking forward to in the coming second season of Celmates Podcast.
Yeah.
Let us know if you want to fix our website that looks like butt for us.
No, I'm going to fix our website. I'm a web developer. But if you're a web designer, if you want to design us a website,
let us know pairings you'd like to see.
Yeah.
Let us know single movies that you're like, I can't think of something. Can you? We'll do our best.
Especially if it's a movie we might not have heard of.
Yeah.
Because we're like animation fans, but
we have our wheelhouses.
We veer towards Disney,
absolutely,
and Miyazaki, and a little bit of Bluth. Like those are our kind of trio, and I guess Pixar, but that's also Disney.
Yeah.
And I just try to avoid DreamWorks.
Yeah,
but we got to watch that dragon movie.
That's supposed to be good.
But yeah, if you've seen something we haven't, like we've had some great suggestions for Winnie the Pooh. Care Bears in Wonderland, which is surprisingly great.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear them. So please hit us up, get in touch with them. You can mail us. Our address is no.
And just thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We've been around a year, and there are people who are listening, and that's amazing and really gratifying. And we mostly do this for fun, but so we're glad that other people are having fun.
I'm in it for the big podcast bucks. I'm in it
that
for
you
all
are
the
spending
all the money
on,
that I
there we
spend
go.
on this podcast. Yeah.
So
and
thanks.
Of course, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, whoever you think would like listening to us. Rate us, review us on whatever thing you rate and review podcasts on.
Happy anniversary, everyone.
And hey, if it's like late March, early April, happy Easter.
Boom. Celmates podcast.
I'm going to bed now.
Are we recording?
We are. We have been for the last 40 minutes. So I'm going to put that.
Are you serious?
No. I'm going to put up a Yesterworld episode as the outro.